It is the start of a new year in the National Football League, and it is the beginning of a new era of Pittsburgh Steelers football, with Russell Wilson coming to town and signing his contract today. Oh my goodness, man. This is going to be a fun show. Day 3 of NFL free agency on the new league year day, Wednesday, March 13th. Thank you to everybody, all the real ones that have shown up. We already got 200 people in the chat for day 3 of our free agency coverage live here on Steelers Talk. Diontae Johnson traded yesterday to the Carolina Panthers. The Steelers have a new CB2. Looks like wide receiver is going to be a big need for the Steelers, potentially even today. We talked about Diontae Johnson replacements on the channel earlier today. We talked about the trade last night when the news broke. Coop was actually doing a Knicks watch party yesterday when the news broke, so we couldn't go live yesterday, but we're here now. We're here to talk about it. So who do you guys think should the Steelers sign next? All right, so right now we have Russell Wilson, we have Cameron Johnston, the punter, and we have Patrick Queen, who we signed yesterday. Awesome contract, by the way. We talked about that. And then we added Diontae Jackson yesterday in the trade for Diontae Johnson. Pretty good corner to put on the other side of Joey Porter Jr., Coop.
Yeah, he's going to be the CB2 for this team, I think, and he'll serve a purpose because the Steelers really needed a CB2, frankly, coming into this offseason, so they addressed a big need there. I think if I were to pick one person who I want the Steelers to sign next, I would say Tyler Boyd, even though it's probably not super likely.
Why not?
Just the way the wind's blowing right now, it just doesn't seem like they're going to sign him, right?
Well, I mean, Jerry Dulac said today in his mailbag that, don't hold your breath for the Steelers to sign Tyler Boyd. But if I know anything about Jerry Dulac, is that the second he says something's not happening, it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, Dulac hasn't been right very often over this free agency.
He was wrong about the quarterback situation. All right, he was wrong about Miles Jack last year. He's been wrong about so much. Why would we believe a word he says about the Steelers' interest or non-interest in Tyler Boyd? I don't get it. I think he's a good fit. I think he comes at a decent price. He can play in the slot. He's not he's not a fast receiver, all right? He's not a burner that's going to go down the field, but you have George Pickens, and then you're probably going to be drafting a burner in the draft this year, so you don't need necessarily somebody that can just a deep threat necessarily. Plus, you have Calvin Austin III that can fit that role as well.
The most common names I'm seeing in the comments right now are Mike Williams and Justin Simmons as players that the chat wants us to sign next.
So Mike Williams is interesting, but he is so similar to George Pickens. It's like, George Pickens is a better version of Mike Williams.
Yes.
Do you want to sign a 30-year-old lesser version of George Pickens? I don't know, man. I think I wish they would have released Keenan Allen today, because I think he would have been a great fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Man.
It doesn't look like he's going to be an option. Looks like he's staying there in Los Angeles.
Khalil Mack also staying in LA.
Yep, he's going to restructure his deal with the Chargers to stay there with Jim Harbaugh. $2 super chat. First super chat of the day here. Brandon Nicholson says, what about Mike Williams? He just got released. I don't know. I think that he's 30 years old, so he's not, and he wants to win. He hasn't won a championship yet. So he's going to be inexpensive. So I'll give him that. He's a big receiver, good run blocker. He would fit what the Steelers like. It's just you already have a guy like him.
I would rather just go younger, too.
Yeah, and if you draft Mike Williams, or if you bring in Mike Williams, you have to draft a slot receiver in the draft. That really limits what you can do at the wide receiver position in the draft, because you're not putting George Pickens in the slot.
Nope.
You're not putting Mike Williams in the slot. So your options in the draft when it comes to wide receiver are a little bit more limited if you sign Mike Williams. So I really don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. I think you made a good point. If it was Keenan Allen, I think we'd be having a different conversation.
Absolutely.
Right now.
He can play in the slot.
Exactly.
He's big. He's a good run blocker. He was 11th last year in Pro Football Focus grading.
He's been a beast for a long time.
He's been a beast for a long time. He has had some injuries, all right? So that's the main objection that I've been hearing about Keenan Allen over the last several hours, but it doesn't look like he's going to be leaving the Chargers anyway, so I guess that's a moot point.
Yep,
Let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's live coverage of NFL free agency here on day 3. Download the Prize Picks app today or go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. It is out with football season, and we are going into March Madness, and of course, NBA playoffs is right around the corner as well. So whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court in the NBA, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of the year. Get in on the excitement with our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the United States of America. How does it work, you ask? Here's how you play. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You can see one of the entries. This is actually my Prize Picks for today's matchups here in the NBA. I'm going to take the more on James Harden for points. That is a super easy one right there. I'm going to take the more on Jalen Suggs points with the Goblin promotion there. It's a easier to get promotion with a lower payout. And then also the less on Jamal Murray points at 21.5. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Today with Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. Again, download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. Oh, we got some super chats rolling in. $2 super chat from Travis Rose. Julian Blackmon, 25 years old. And Coop, when I put out my perfect free agency plan, who was the strong safety I had on that plan? Mr. Julian Blackmon.
Wild.
I think that he would be a great fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, you brought in a young inside linebacker yesterday in Patrick Queen. Julian Blackmon's 25 years old, like Travis says, and I think that he's got the size you're looking for, all these different things, all right? So I really think that Julian Blackmon is probably my #1 target at the safety position even now. He hasn't been signed yet.
Do you think that he complements Minka, or are they...
Absolutely, because Blackmon's a bigger, strong safety type. And, you know, he has versatility to play at free safety if Minka gets hurt or whatever. But you want Minka Fitzpatrick to be that roamer.
So he's not like Justin Simmons, where they're the same player, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like Poyer, who's now with the Dolphins, and Justin Simmons. They're like 190 pounds. They're not playing in the box. All right. Minka can play in the box. He's big enough, but he's better when he's more of a roamer, when he can straight up read the eyes of the quarterback and fuck shit up. That's when he's at his best, when he's getting those interceptions. And Julian Blackmon is big enough to play in the box and be that true strong safety. He comes at a pretty decent price. I think Pro Football Focus says that you can get him for like $5.5 million or something like that. With the limited funds that the Steelers have, I think this would be a good move, and I'd love to see Julian Blackmon in the black and gold. And we got a $25 super chat. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. There we go. Darkest Light says, here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Thank you for that $25 super chat. Darkest Light getting our party started today.
What we're getting into today, the main segment that we're going to do is about Steelers draft targets. So let's ask the people, who do you want to draft at number 20 overall? Where do you want to go? Do you want to go offensive line? Do you want to go wide receiver? Do you want to go corner?
Yeah, I mean, it really does depend on what they do for the rest of free agency, because they still have a lot of holes that they need to fill on this team.
Oh, yeah.
You still need a starting strong safety. You still need a starting corner. You still need a starting offensive tackle, either on the left or right side, depending on where Broderick goes. You need a new center. I mean, you could use more inside linebacker depth for that matter if you're going to cut Cole Holcomb. So,
absolutely.
I mean, for me, it's got to be wide receiver, center, tackle, or corner. All right, it's going to depend on what they do and who they bring in for the rest of free agency to really solidify who they will take in round one. But after that trade yesterday with Diontae Johnson, that leaves 2 gaping holes in that wide receiver room. So I'm pretty damn sure they're going to take a wide receiver within the first 2 rounds of the draft this year.
I think they have to.
I think they pretty much have to, because they're going to bring in, I think, a reliable kind of, cap-friendly deal for a wide receiver in free agency, like maybe a Tyler Boyd. And then they're going to go out and try to get a running mate, like a true number 2 to George Pickens on the outside, like an Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, your boy. Maybe a Xavier Legette out of South Carolina.
I've been reading up on Xavier Legette over the past couple days. I'm falling in love more and more every day with that guy.
I mean, Legette reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown.
So he's not really a slot, though.
Not a slot.
Okay.
He is massive.
Yeah, he's huge.
Huge guy, really built up, like DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown were when they were coming out. Like that, he's big, he's strong, he's built up, he's an incredible run blocker because of that strength that he brings to the table. And then he's got the speed, baby. At that size, his ability to take a slant to the house in this Arthur Smith offense, that'd be a perfect role for him.
Well, that's exactly why the Steelers probably need 2 wide receivers then, because they need a slot guy as well.
Exactly. You need a bigger slot guy that can come in. And, Arthur Smith runs like 12 personnel, 22 personnel a lot, just 2 receivers on the field. That's why I think this wide receiver that gets brought in free agency might be a little bit underwhelming for some Steelers fans out there. It might end up being a guy like Nick Westbrook-Akine, or it might be a Josh Reynolds.
Hot Rod had an interesting suggestion here with this super chat.
All right, guys, let's break it down. What about Juju Smith-Schuster? And you know what, guys? I don't hate it.
That would be crazy.
We know how good of a run blocker Juju Smith-Schuster is. We know that he's a bigger slot guy. Does he have the same juice that he had in his early days in Pittsburgh? Probably not. But he's an affordable option. He's somebody that knows the culture. I mean, I wouldn't hate it.
Juju and Chase Claypool, I just kind of lump in the same category of
Chase Claypool
TikTok boys.
I mean, okay, TikTok boys, yes. That's the one thing that I wouldn't love is that I'd have to see him dance on TikTok again. But, he's a decent player. He fits what they're probably looking for in terms of price and skill set. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we have a reunion in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, he wore number 19 here, right?
19.
So Calvin would have to change his number?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Or Juju would just wear 9.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, what did he wear in New England?
He wore 9, I believe.
Was it 9?
Yes.
I mean,
and he wore 9 at USC.
9 would look pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be tough for sure.
I mean, now that receivers can have those.
Wait, doesn't Boz wear 9?
Oh, yeah, he does. So I have no idea what he'd be wearing. I have a feeling he might buy it from Calvin.
He might.
And then Calvin might go to like a lower number.
Hey, Calvin, here's $20K. Give me my number.
All right, so that's an interesting idea. Ryan Ware with a first-time super chat. Let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo! $2 super chat says Nate Wiggins fire. I like Nate Wiggins.
I like Nate Wiggins too.
He's one of the top corners in this year's draft class.
Do you have him? You have him number 2?
I have him number 3 right now.
Number 3, because I know you have Quinion Mitchell as 1.
My number 1 is Quinion Mitchell. He's unbelievable. Cooper DeJean is number 2.
Our hope.
The Great White Hope.
The Great White Hope, indeed.
And then I have Nate Wiggins at number 3 because I don't get me wrong, I love Nate Wiggins. He's super fast. He's super sticky in coverage. He's great in zone coverage. But that's pretty much all they run there in Clemson. Not a lot of press man stuff. Which is what the Steelers like to run here in Pittsburgh, or at least that's what they're looking to run here in Pittsburgh. He doesn't have super long arms, which is going to hurt his ability to play in press in the National Football League. So I actually think Wiggins is more of a fit in like a Fangio-style system where he's going to be able to play off coverage, less hand fighting, all these different things. So his lack of length in his arms doesn't really affect his play all that much.
In this system, you're playing press man, you're on the guys, you're physical.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why Joey Porter Jr. thrived in the system last year, is because he got those long arms. He's incredibly physical, and that's why they got Diontae Jackson.
What a joke that it took until week 8 to make JPJ the starter, basically.
Oh, my God.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. It really is. So one potential wide receiver target for the Steelers, somebody that played for Arthur Smith in Atlanta last year, Mac Hollins, signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills today. In our Diontae Johnson's replacement video, I actually had Hollins on my original list, but then he got poached and then he got signed. So
he would have been a decent. He would have been a decent signing. I mean, obviously affordable as well. He's not. I don't think he's as good as Diontae, but I guess he's a similar receiver.
Yeah, he's Diontae. I mean, Mac Hollins is huge.
He's much bigger. Yeah, that's
much
true.
bigger.
Much bigger.
Doesn't have the route running acumen. Quite different receiver actually. Where he's a bigger slot guy. Doesn't really give you much in terms of route running, but he's a great run blocker. All these different things. So he wouldn't have been my first choice for sure because he doesn't bring the athleticism that you really want. But at the end of the day, he's a Buffalo Bill, and we got to beat him. All right, we got to beat him next year with Russ.
F the Bills.
F the Bills. No, I'm not going to say F Matt Collins. He's
cool for now.
He can go where he wants.
For now.
Okay, so we're going to have the mailbag coming later into the show. The weekly mailbag will be on today's show. So we already have some Super Chats, and those Super Chat questions will be on today's mailbag.
Yes, indeed.
And I would say probably today, Coop, if you want to make it on the mailbag and you want to get a question in, it's got to be a Super Chat.
You are probably going to have to Super Chat.
Okay, so you're probably going to have to Super Chat to get your question on the show, but if you have low funds, whatever the case may be, that's fine. And you have a question, just put hashtag Steelers in there, and then
we'll see if we get to it.
We'll see if we get to it. All
right.
No
doubt about it.
So I think it's probably a good time here, Coop, to probably get into our first segment of the day. We got 665 people watching.
Hey. We have to get to like 200 likes before we start this segment. I'm not going to lie. If we have 665 people watching at 100 likes,
we got almost...
That's a joke.
We got almost 700 people watching, only 100 likes. All right, so type me in the chat if you've liked today's video. All right? I want to see who the real ones are. Type me in the chat if you've clicked that thumbs up icon. The King is here. Let's go.
Let's go.
Phoenix is here. Brian Ruiz is here. IQ is here. Mile High is here. Shane is here. Hunter is here. Ty is here. Cassie's here.
Cassie!
Everybody say hi to Cassie in the chat. Steve Young is here. Chris is here. Nothing is here. James is here. Atlantis is here. Kevin is here. Chad is here. Jeffrey, Ryan, Antonio, Ben, Darkness, Clifford, Colton. Let's see. William, the one, Force Sensitive. Real Estate Portfolio. Thank you guys so much. Psycho, Mike, John, William, Dave. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're 15 likes away. All right, we got the first segment coming up here. It is the top first-round draft targets after the Diontae Johnson trade because I think things have kind of shifted a little bit
indeed.
here. So I got 14 players that I think are in play for the Steelers to draft in the first round next year, all right? And I think the player that the Steelers end up taking is going to be on this list of 14 guys, all right? So we'll reveal who those 14 players are once we get to 200 likes. We just passed it. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Make sure you guys get your questions in for the mailbag via Super Chat or hashtag Steelers. Coop says he needs a little bit of a drink before we get things going here.
Stay hydrated.
All right.
Let's get it.
And then, by the way, if the Steelers sign somebody, we're going to be covering it live right here on the channel. But for now, let's shift our focus to the NFL draft. After Diontae Johnson leaves, that leaves a gaping hole at wide receiver. How does that change things in terms of the Steelers draft strategy? Let's talk about it right here on the show on Steelers Talk. NFL draft season is in full swing. So today, let's talk about the 14 NFL draft prospects that, at least in my opinion, are in consideration for the Pittsburgh Steelers to select in the first round of the 2024 NFL draft. The Steelers currently hold the number 20 overall pick in this year's draft. So we're going to be talking about the players that, after the Diontae Johnson trade, I believe to be in play. Before we get into today's list, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now because we are just getting started with all of the great draft content that we are going to be having right here on Steelers Talk for free all draft season, all right? So you're going to get the latest Steelers draft news, all the players that they're bringing in for visits, all the players that are reported getting linked to the Steelers before the draft. We're going to have that covered for you guys. Also, in-depth scouting reports on all the top Steelers draft targets, positional rankings for all the positions of need for the Steelers heading into the draft this year, and also we'll have weekly Steelers mock drafts. And oh yeah, that's all 100% free. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now because you're not going to want to miss any of this premium Steelers draft content all throughout the 2024 offseason. So before I get into today's list, a little bit of a disclaimer. If you're watching this outside of our live show on Wednesday, we're going to be probably be putting this out on Sunday. If the Steelers make any moves that make anything that I say here moot or whatever, just know that we did this video on Wednesday. All right, so we're doing this based on what we know as of Wednesday, March 13th. So let's start with the positions to consider here in the first round. And I do think offensive tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, and center are going to be on the minds of the Pittsburgh Steelers front office and GM Omar Khan heading into day one of the NFL draft in Detroit in a couple of weeks, right? So let's start with offensive tackle, because I think that there's some very interesting possibilities because Broderick Jones can play right tackle, but they could also move him over to left tackle. So they have a lot of options at their disposal. And my number one draft target is Alou Fashanu. Now, I left Joe Alt off the list because he's going to go top 10, and I don't see the Steelers trading up for him. But Alou Fashanu, at least according to Pro Football Focus, has a chance to fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20 overall in the NFL draft. Now, of course, Fashanu is a very well-regarded offensive tackle prospect. He is number 2 on my list of offensive tackle prospects this year, but currently Pro Football Focus ranks him 17th overall and as the number 4 overall offensive tackle, all right? So if the NFL agrees with Pro Football Focus and Alou Fashanu out of Penn State begins to start falling down the draft board, absolutely, I'm considering even trading up a couple of spots to maybe go get this guy to be the franchise left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers and keep Broderick Jones over on the right side. Alou Fashanu, maybe not the best run blocker in the world, but I think he's probably the best pass-protecting offensive tackle in this draft class, at least in terms of what he can do right now. And because he's still so young, in my opinion, he's still got so much room to grow. All right, and then we get to number 2, and I would go with Amarius Mims if Alou Fashanu is not on the board. He played right tackle there at Georgia, and his tape is really freaking good. Now, he hasn't played all that much because he has a little bit of an injury history, and so he's a little bit green in that way, but people are scared to take him because he hasn't played all that much. But when he has played and when he's been on the field, he looks like an incredible offensive tackle prospect. He's got the size, he's got the arm length, he's great in terms of run blocking, which is what the Steelers are prioritizing this year in their offensive tackle prospects. Of course, we know that the Steelers love the Georgia Bulldog offensive tackles because they just took Broderick Jones last year. I think Amarius Mims, if he's there at number 20, is somebody that the Steelers are really going to think about. Then number 3 on my list is Talisi Fuaga, who currently ranks as the number 2 offensive tackle on the Pro Football Focus big board. And I actually had the Steelers taking Fuaga in my latest Steelers mock draft that you can see on the channel right now. I think Amarius Mims might be a Cincinnati Bengal. As much as I hate to say that, they need tackle help, and I have Mims above Fuaga on my big board right now. But Fuaga, menacing run blocker, big dude, maybe is a little bit raw in terms of a pass rusher or a pass protector, but he's a big body. I think he's going to be able to survive on the right side. And if you draft Fuaga, you can move Broderick Jones back over to the left side for the future, and you've got your starting tackle duo locked up for the future. Then at number 4, I've got Troy Fautanu, and I think if Troy is going to be available for the Steelers here, and the first 3 guys on my list are taken, they will think about taking Troy, but as a left tackle. I don't really see him as a right tackle. I think he's a little bit undersized to be a right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Broderick Jones would fit better as on the right side than Troy would, but man, this guy is absolutely fantastic in terms of his pass protection, in terms of his arm length, in terms of his athletic ability and his ability to move. And his athleticism is just off the charts. I really, really like Troy Fautanu, and it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up going top 15 and taken before he even gets to the Steelers at number 20. Number 5, J.C. Latham, and full disclosure, guys, I wouldn't love it if the Steelers took Latham at number 20. I think he's more of a true late first round, early second round type guy, still very raw coming out of Alabama. He's a mountain of a man. And they did meet with him formally at the NFL Combine, But personally, guys, if the top 4 offensive tackles on this list are taken, I'm probably going to go and get a different position group here because Latham is still so raw. And the same thing goes for number 6, Tyler Guyton. They did meet with him at the NFL Combine. He's got the physical profile of a potential all-pro right tackle, but like J.C. Latham, he is still so raw. He got beaten the one-on-ones time and time again at the Senior Bowl at Mobile, Alabama, and I'm just not comfortable putting him in a starting role right away with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that's trying to win now. So really, I wouldn't want to take J.C. Latham or Tyler Guyton. I'd really like to get one of the top 4 guys on my list if you're taking offensive tackle. Now, coming up here, more draft targets to discuss here on Steelers Talk. But before we get into those, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today or go to prizepicks.com/CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Football season is officially over, but guess what, guys? March Madness is here, and the action on the floor is just heating up in both college basketball and in the NBA. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of the year. Get in on the excitement with our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. You might be asking yourselves, Jack, how does this work? Well, here's how you play with Prize Picks. You can pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So here is an example of a Prize Picks entry that I actually put out earlier this week on Wednesday. James Harden, I took the more on 3.14 points. That's a super easy one for me. I took the Goblin on Jalen Suggs points at 7.5. I think that one's pretty easy. Jalen Suggs, by the way, Minnesota native. Then you got Jamal Murray. I'm going to take the less on points with 21.5 on Wednesday. I guess you guys will know whether I got those right or wrong by the time this video comes out. But download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks, so get started right now. Again, download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. Now let's get to the wide receivers that I think the Steelers are going to be eyeing as potential first-round draft targets. Number 1 is Rome Odunze, and, you know, this one's weird for me because I don't think the Steelers are going to trade up for a wide receiver just because there are so many special wide receiver prospects in this year's NFL draft. It's such a deep wide receiver class, and the Steelers have so many needs as we speak here today. So I don't think the Steelers will spend extra draft capital to go up and get a guy like Rome Odunze, who is special, who is incredible. Over 60% contested catch percentage. That's unbelievable. That is extremely elite. That's like 20 points higher than an elite number would be. And Rome Odunze, there's like, when you watch the Washington Huskies film, there's at least 2 or 3 times a game where he's making a catch and you just say, that is unfair. He's also a great route runner, very intelligent player, and of course he's a big receiver, so he would fit Arthur Smith's mold on the other side of George Pickens. And man, if you had GP and Rome Odunze on the same offense, good luck stopping that with Russell Wilson throwing them the deep ball. But I just don't think it's in the Steelers' interest to trade up when they still have so many other things that they need to address. So at number 20, who are the guys that they could potentially land? Number 2 on my list is Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver out of Texas. 4.35 speed at 6'4", and he's arguably, maybe besides Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors and maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, he's probably the best. I mean, most drafts he'd be the number 1 receiver in my opinion. He's got everything. He's got size. He's got the route running acumen. He's got the burst. He's got the long speed. He's got the deep ball ability. And I just think that he's one of the most complete wide receivers in this year's draft class. I have him as wide receiver 4 right now. And if he falls to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20, which isn't impossible, look for him to pair that deep ball ability with Russell Wilson, who has one of the best deep balls in the National Football League, plus that size, I think is something that Arthur Smith would like. Then number 3, speaking of guys that are big and deep threats, Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Malik Neighbors is kind of seen as like the super blue chip guy that's going to be taken in the top 10. Brian Thomas Jr. will probably be taken towards the end of the first round, and I really think that 20 is not out of the question for him for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Super big guy, the 10-yard split that he ran at his size at the Combine, unbelievable. 4.3 speed at 6'4", like Adonai Mitchell, really good route runner as well. I love Brian Thomas Jr. as a prospect, and I think these 3 guys are the receivers that the Steelers would consider taking in round 1. But let's say they don't go wide receiver and they don't go offensive tackle. What about corner? Because I do think Diontae Jackson, he's somebody that's played traditionally on the outside, but he has the skill set to potentially move inside. So who are the outside corners in round 1 that the Steelers could consider taking here? Number 1 on my list is Quinyon Mitchell. Now, I think Mitchell is going to go in the top 10, most likely to the Atlanta Falcons. I think that even last year with Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon, I probably would have had Quinyon Mitchell as my number 1 corner last year. He's the complete package. He has the size you look for, the hip fluidity you look for, the recovery speed you look for, the arm length you look for, the strength you look for, and he's got the best film out of anybody in the draft, in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic player, can play him in press, can play him in off coverage. Super good, super complete prospect. I think he's one of the best overall players in this year's NFL draft. Number 2, I have Cooper DeJean. He's kind of like a souped-up version of what Brian Branch was last year, and Brian Branch couldn't play on the outside. Cooper DeJean can. He can play safety. He can play nickel. He can play on the outside. Super athletic, but he's coming off a season where he had a major leg injury. Those medicals are going to be a big deal for Cooper DeJean and where he lands. Number 3, I have Nate Wiggins. And, I think Wiggins is a fantastic prospect. I think he's going to find a home that works out for him. But personally, guys, I don't think he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler because I think he's more of a zone corner. He doesn't have long arms. He doesn't play with particularly amazing physicality or anything like that, like Joey Porter Jr. coming out of Penn State last year, for example. So I don't really see him as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but he's going to be a good fit somewhere else. And then number 4, I got Terrion Arnold. And I don't think the Steelers will consider taking Arnold at number 20. If he falls to them in round 2, maybe we can have a discussion. But personally, guys, I think if they're taking a corner, it's either going to be Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean. Now, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon right now if you are a real one. You watch all of our videos, you support the channel, and you watch all of our live shows, all that great stuff. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon to help make this video the best it can possibly be today. All right, so now the only center that I think is worth taking a first-round pick on is Jackson Powers-Johnson out of Oregon. And I've been saying this for weeks, guys. If Arthur Smith could build a center in a lab, it would be Jackson Powers-Johnson with the way he can move, with the way that he can get to the second level of a defense on those wide zone concepts. And he does it with power, and he does it with strength. And he's a good pass protector as well. I mean, this guy's got it all, in my opinion. And at number 20, if you take care of the rest of the needs, I think it's probably more likely that Jackson Powers-Johnson is the pick. But also you have Zach Frazier, Cedric Van Pran, Bo Limmer. There's a lot of good centers in this year's draft class. So unless circumstances dictate, I don't think JPJ is going to be the pick. But listen, man, I do think that the pick is going to be on day 2 for center because, like I said, there's depth at this position and it's considered a lower value position, whereas positions like wide receiver, outside corner, and offensive tackle are considered high value positions. So if you can get a tackle, if you can get a wide receiver, if you can get, did I say tackle? I think I did a corner. You don't have to take a center on day 1. You can get one on day 2 in this draft class because there's so many centers in this year's class that are ready to be starters. So I don't think center's going to be the pick on day 1. I think they'll wait until day 2 to fill that need on this roster. So another possibility that is worth discussing for the Steelers is what if they trade out of the first round? We know they have all these needs, right? They need a new corner, they need a new offensive tackle, they need a center, they need a wide receiver. Let's say the Steelers play it pretty conservatively for the rest of the way through free agency, and they still have a lot of needs to cover in the early rounds of the draft. Something that they could do here is that they could trade down from round 1 to a team that's willing to give them like 2 second-round picks or maybe a late first round and an additional second-round pick maybe, and trade down. That's definitely something to consider if you are GM Omar Khan. You can get more high-quality players in the early rounds of this year's draft, and you can fill those needs with players that are ready to play now. So what say you guys? Let me know. Is that a possibility that you would consider if you were GM Omar Khan? Should the Steelers trade down? Give me a yes or give me a no. Let me know what you're feeling down there in the comment section. So if you want to give me a follow on my social media here on X, I am at Jack_Sperry, putting a lot of stuff on there over the last several days and leading up into the draft. Going to be putting out a lot more. Going to be putting out my first mock draft here for all 32 picks in the first round here really soon. So if you're interested in that kind of content, check me out. And then also at sparedog.football on Instagram. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already for extensive Steelers draft coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. All right, $5 Super Chat here. One cut done. One to go here with the mailbag.
Hopefully more if the Steelers sign some more.
Yeah, hopefully they can sign somebody here. I'd love to get a live reaction to a signing.
So Brandon Nicholson says, do we address OT in the draft or free agency? I think we can go center at 20, a.k.a. Jackson Powers-Johnson, and wide receiver in round 2. But beyond that, I think we go cornerback, inside linebacker, or strong safety.
In first round? Is he talking about free agency?
I think he's talking about free agency.
I think we go center at 20, wide receiver in round 2, but beyond that, I think... Oh, okay, so he thinks we go center at 20. Like I just said, I think that they're going to go round 2 or 3 because, with the thing about centers is that it's considered a lower value position along with offensive guard because what do? They get help with double teams, all right? So I love Jackson Powers-Johnson. He's the only guy I'd consider taking at 20 just because of the depth of this year's class. And Cedric Van Pran and Zach Frazier are great fits. And by the way, so is Bo Limmer. Out of Arkansas. All of them could start day 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year.
Bo Limmer's a day 3 guy, though, isn't he?
No, I think he might be even, that's how deep this class is at the position. Like, you could maybe get him early round 4.
Yeah.
But I think he'll probably go late day 3 personally. Because I think there's enough teams that need center where they're going to prioritize. Because I think that there's like maybe 4 or 5 guys in this year's class that could start right away. Graham Barton is another guy out of Duke that could play center in the league right away.
Who's the kid from the Dakotas that you really like? Late pick?
What's his name?
You know who I'm talking about?
McCormick is the guard. I'm blank. Garrett Greenfield.
Yes, thank you.
Offensive tackle, late round guy. Absolutely. I was vindicated.
That's your guy.
I was vindicated at the Combine because he was one of the better testing offensive tackles at the Combine.
Yes.
And, even the NFL, posted all of his numbers and stuff. I'm like, I was on this guy a couple weeks ago before anybody else was. But, yeah, man, all these things need to be addressed. And you know what? Some of these things are going to get addressed in free agency, all right? And then when it comes to offensive tackle, to answer your first question there, I'm kind of dodging the question. With offensive tackle, I would love Tyron Smith, personally.
Yeah.
You're trying to win now. You need to protect Russell Wilson. Broderick Jones can survive on the right side.
I was going to say, you can just plug Tyron right in on that left side and keep Broderick over on the right.
So I wouldn't hate Tyron Smith for the right price. Trent Brown, I wouldn't hate for the right price. But other than that, I'm drafting a guy.
I'd agree.
The only 2 guys I'd bring in, maybe I'd consider Bakhtiari. Maybe.
He just doesn't play enough.
Yeah, but he's always hurt, So when I look at Tyron Smith, I look at Trent Brown, I look at really good players that are ready to really go. But like I said, there's really 3 guys that I would love to land in this year's draft. Alou Fashanu, what's his face? Marius Mims.
Oh, you're just talking offensive line.
Yeah, just an offensive tackle.
And JPJ.
No, that's center. And
I thought you were talking line as a whole.
No. Offensive tackle. Fashanu, then Mims, then Fuaga. Those are the 3 guys that I would love to have in the draft. I would accept Troy Fotano out of Washington as well.
Now, if you get one of those, do you consider moving Broderick over to the left and then have those guys play right?
So Fuaga and Mims, their natural position is on the right side.
Okay.
So if you get one of those guys, you're moving Broderick to the left. Fotano has to play left tackle, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because Broderick's bigger, all these different things. It makes more sense to have Broderick on the right side. And then Alou Fashanu is pretty similar, where, he's more of a left tackle.
And I know Omar Khan, or was it Tomlin, said earlier in the offseason that the eventual plan is to move Broderick to the left.
Yeah, eventually they want to move Broderick to the left, but things are, subject to change.
Yeah, they're fluid, of course.
If Alou Fashanu, who's I consider a blue chip offensive tackle prospect, falls, and Pro Football Focus has him ranked 17th right now, guys. It's not impossible.
Steelers are at 20.
I think it makes more sense to draft him and then keep Broderick on the right side because he was awesome on the right side last year.
He was.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I think it'll be interesting. I don't want them to get like a Mekhi Becton or like somebody that isn't proven on the free agency market.
I just don't think you need to spend your money on that.
Exactly. If you're going to spend your money on an offensive tackle, get somebody that is going to be able to get the job done right.
Yep.
And if not, spend your first round draft capital on an offensive lineman or trade down.
Sure. I'm not opposed to the whole trade down theory.
I also like Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame as like a late first, early second round guy.
Is he a tackle?
He is a tackle.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind that at all. So there's a lot of options, and we're not going to know. We're not going to really be able to boil it down as to what the Steelers are going to be thinking until they start making more moves.
Yeah, we need Omar Konda. Let's go here, buddy.
Because they still need 2 starting wide receivers for next season. They still need a starting corner. They need corner depth. They need a starting strong safety.
Absolutely.
They might have to get another linebacker to replace Cole Holcomb. They need defensive line depth. You could always use more offensive line depth. Like, there's still so many things that you need to get done if you are Omar Khan. And, I think the time is now to get things going. $5 super chat here from Jared Sanchez.
Well, hold on.
We got DeBerg, a first-time super chatter. So let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo!
Shout out to Berg.
Shout out to DeBerg. Then we got $5 super chat from Jared Sanchez. What's up, Jared? Says, what's more likely? Do the Steelers draft a wide receiver early or sign a free agent wide receiver?
¿Por qué no los dos?
They're going to do both, all right?
They have to do both.
They have to do both, all right? Because, last year you had Diontae Johnson and Allen Robinson as starters. Both of them are gone, and you have not brought in anybody to replace them. And, Calvin Austin III, I think he's a good wide receiver 4 and a good special team guy, but as a number 3 receiver, I don't see it with Arthur Smith, who likes the bigger run-blocking type wide receivers. So what I'd say, Jared, is expect them to sign some sort of veteran at like a low contract to be their number 3 receiver.
Juju.
And then maybe Juju, maybe Josh Reynolds, maybe Tyler Boyd, who knows. Other than that, and also, wild card here, Odell Beckham Jr.
He's boys with Russ.
He is like best friends with Russell Wilson. They hang out and work out together in the offseason. They've never played with each other, and he gets to play his former teams in the Browns and Ravens twice a year if he comes here.
If Odell signs with the Steelers, just know that you heard it here first. That's
honestly, man, just know where you got it from.
Oh!
A $20 super chat from my man and Gold Club member, Steelers Dad, says, always appreciate your amazing coverage of the Steelers. No, Steelers Dad,
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Steelers Dad.
you, man.
We appreciate
you, my friend. You are the best. All right, so, man, wide receiver, if I can go back to Jared's question, expect them to get like a number 3 receiver in free agency for a low contract, and then expect them to use an early draft pick on a receiver, whether that be round 1 or whether that be in round 2. They're going to spend a draft pick on a receiver in the draft, at least in my opinion. I don't think they'll double dip in free agency.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to, I think, just because of the cost that it would take to sign 2 wide receivers.
And there's so many good receiving prospects this year.
The receiving prospects in the draft is legit a dozen deep. Like, there's probably 12 good wide receivers in this draft.
More.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's, like, a
You
bunch.
can find gems there in day 2, even day 3.
By the way, I think in my next mock draft, I'll probably have the Steelers taking an offensive tackle in round 1, and then I'll probably have them taking Xavier Legette in round 2. Because I love the fit between Xavier Legette and Arthur Smith's offense. He reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown. And if you're getting that guy in the second round, I mean, that is an absolute steal in my opinion.
No doubt about it.
$5 super chat here from Mystic Gaming says, is there any chance we trade back in the draft and get a center and extra picks? I also want to know, do we go and get my favorite prospect, Peyton Wilson? So Peyton Wilson is an athletic freak linebacker.
Yes.
I could see it happening. I mean, Tomlin loves his freaks.
It also depends on what happens with Cole Holcomb.
Yeah, I think it depends how they feel about Cole Holcomb and Mark Robinson, for that matter.
I forgot about Mark Robinson.
I think they're pretty much done with Mark, to be honest. He's had a couple years. He hasn't really blossomed yet. Peyton's a good big linebacker that runs fast, very athletic, all these different things. You'd have to spend like a 3rd-round pick to get him, and is he worth are the Steelers looking to get a 3rd-round guy? I think they'd rather spend that on Cedric Van Pran. Right. If Cedric Van Pran is sitting there in the 3rd round, I think they'd probably rather go out and get their starting center of the future.
I think the first part of his question is very it's exactly what we're talking about. Is there a chance they trade back in the draft and get a center? Yeah, absolutely.
I think they absolutely. I mean, you trade back and maybe you still get Jackson Powers Johnson.
That would be awesome.
Because here's the thing when it comes to JPJ. This is such a deep center class, and it's a low-value position.
Sure.
So there's going to be a lot of teams that pass on center early because they're going to be like, well, we can get Cedric Van Pran or Zach Frazier in round 2 or 3. We can go get our corner, or we can go get our receiver, or we can go get our offensive tackle or our quarterback right now. You know, Miami signed a center, Aaron Brewer, right? There's a lot of teams
that was a potential Steelers target.
A lot of teams that needed a center have already picked one up. So I actually think if you trade back, there's a decent chance you could land JPJ.
Absolutely.
If that's the guy that you want to take. So absolutely, they could trade back, and that's something that I would definitely consider, especially if you're getting an additional day 2 pick for trading back.
No doubt.
You know, get another player, get another starting caliber guy, get younger. Those are all things the Steelers need to do, right?
All right, I got to run to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back, but we're going to do our mailbag coming up, so make sure you use #Steelers or Super Chat to get on the show. I'm going to be honest, we're probably going to have to Super Chat if you want to be on this show because we got a lot of really good questions.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're going to have to probably Super Chat at this point just because there's so many Super Chats that have already come in. So if you want to get out your question on the show, you can Super Chat along with your question. We'll make sure to hit it. And then also, if you're low on funds, whatever, we appreciate everybody that watches our show. We try to give everybody a shot. So use #Steelers for a chance to get on the mailbag this week. But, you know, we do prioritize the people that donate money for obvious reasons. So we appreciate everybody. We got over 800 people in the chat. We're going to get to our mailbag here in just a second. I'm going to give some shout-outs here. I'm going to give some shout-outs here. So right now we got Dabs in the chat. We got Nick. We got Terrence. We got Joe L. We got Josh. We got B-Lo. We got DeBerg. We got Nick. We got Joe L. We got D-Lo, Mystic Gaming, Steven, Edward, Paranormal, Brian, Nick, Sebastian, Billy, Steven, Joe, Wheezy, Adam, and Austin Tardif is here. Let's say he says and Tardif says he loves the Ric Flair drip. Woo, baby. Gotta love it. Abu is here. Matthew is here. Sack is here. Man, I love hanging out with you guys, man. It's been an awesome week. It's been an awesome week, man. Sunday night, we went live for the Russell Wilson news. It was an awesome show. It was a party. It was a joyful moment for a lot of people in Steelers Nation. And then also Monday we went live for free agency. Yesterday we went live for free agency with Patrick Queen and his signing. And then today we're capping off our free agency coverage for the week, at least our live coverage of the week. So I appreciate every single one of you guys that are in the chat, that have been with us all week. And the real ones, man. You guys are the best, man. I'm absolutely blessed to be able to do this and give you guys my very best version of Steelers content every single day. Yeah, Coop and I actually got screwed out of our normal studio today. So we're in the hot box.
That's okay.
We're in the hot box today, but you know what? There's a bit more room in the studio, so we're all good. So Coop is back. Let's get it going. We got about 700 people in the chat right now. 321 likes. If you haven't clicked that thumbs up icon, it really helps out the stream, so we appreciate everybody that does that.
And Sperry, it is officially 4 p.m. Eastern, a.k.a. welcome to the 2024 NFL season.
Happy New Year.
Let's go.
Happy New Year. Cheers. I got water, but
me too.
Cheers to you guys.
Hydrate.
Okay.
What did you think about this Morgan Moses trade?
What'd they get him for? I've been so busy today. I didn't.
Moses sent a 4th to the Jets and then a 4th and a 6th back to Baltimore.
I don't know. Morgan Moses is fine. He's not great.
Yeah.
I think he's more of like a swing tackle. So
yeah,
that's such a meh trade.
So whatever.
You know? Such a meh trade. So make sure you guys get your questions in. We're going to get into this mailbag. Let's get into it right now, Coop, all right?
You want to just dive on in?
Let's dive on in. Keep putting your questions in there. #Steelers or Super Chat. We're going to get to all these questions coming up on the mailbag right now. Don't go anywhere. If the Steelers sign somebody, we are going to be covering it live right here on the channel. So without further ado, let's get into this week's. We got a $5 super chat from Steve. Steve, we'll
answer that, Steve.
We'll answer your question on the mailbag here, Steve. So without further ado, let's get it going right now. That's the live show, L3 there, Coop.
Oh, yep.
Let's change that. All right, so let's get into it right now. The Steelers Talk mailbag coming at you right now. It's NFL free agency week, man, and things have been interesting all week long. Today, I am answering your questions on the Pittsburgh Steelers after they have signed Russell Wilson, after they have signed Patrick Queen, after they have traded Diontae Johnson, and now it is your chance, the fans of Steelers Talk, to get on the show and ask your questions about the new look Pittsburgh Steelers. It's my first time being able to answer questions about the Pittsburgh Steelers since they signed Russell Wilson, since they've made all these moves. So I'm super excited about it. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now to join the most interactive Steelers Talk community here on YouTube. Really do appreciate your support. And without further ado, I'll pause and open it up for questions, starting with a $5 super chat from Brandon Nicholson. Says, do we address offensive tackle in the draft or free agency? I think we can go center at 20 and wide receiver in round 2. But beyond that, I think we can go cornerback, inside linebacker, or strong safety. So when it comes to offensive tackle, there's only 2 tackles that I would be okay with signing. Tyron Smith on a good deal, maybe a short-term deal. Good left tackle, has a hard time staying healthy, but when he's on the field, he's really freaking good. And then Trent Brown, a little bit of a personality issue, so he's probably going to come a bit cheaper, but he was top 10 in Pro Football Focus grading last year on the left side of the Patriots offensive line. And I think Mike Tomlin can rein in the personality a little bit. So I'd like to see Trent Brown or Tyron Smith. If you can't land either one of them, go out and get them in the draft. Absolutely. And then you just listed all the needs there. You need a new center. You need another corner to start for you next year. You need a new inside linebacker. Or maybe get some depth at that position. And then strong safety. You definitely need to get one of those as well. $2 super chat here from Hot Rod 24 says, everyone is asking what about Juju Smith-Schuster? Could there be a reunion with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Juju? I wouldn't necessarily hate it. I would be a little bit annoyed with the Mr. Unlimited stuff with Russell Wilson and Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, that's a little bit too much corniness, cheesiness, on one team for, everybody to handle. But you know what, man? Juju is what they're looking for. He's a bigger slot receiver. That's a good run blocker, and he probably is coming pretty darn cheap. So I wouldn't hate it. It's something that I think the Steelers might consider. Juju Smith-Schuster might be coming back to the Steelers, guys. All right, so now let me know down there in the comments section, should the Steelers bring back Juju Smith-Schuster? Give me a yes or give me a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no to answer today's pinned question. Then we got a $5 super chat here from Jared Sanchez. It says, what's more likely, do the Steelers draft a wide receiver early or sign a free agent wide receiver? Jared, it's going to be both, all right? You got rid of Allen Robinson, and now you have gotten rid of Diontae Johnson. They still haven't brought in anybody to replace them, so you have to replace both of their spots with new starters, okay? So I think that the way they're going to approach it is they're going to sign kind of an affordable free agent like a Juju Smith-Schuster or a Josh Reynolds or, Tyler Boyd to fill out that third receiver spot. And then they're going to draft somebody to be the number 2 receiver moving forward, either in round 1 or round 2. I don't know if that'll be Adonai Mitchell. I don't know if that means trading up for Rome Odunze. I don't know if that means Xavier Legette in round 2. I just know that I think the Steelers are going to prioritize wide receiver in one of the best, if not the best wide receiver class in NFL draft history this year. And that's a big reason why they ended up moving on from Diontae Johnson. $5 super chat here from Steve Young. What's up, Steve? Says, I haven't heard you guys talk about left tackle Jordan Morgan from Arizona, who has been rated as high as a day 2 pick. Would he be a fit in Pittsburgh? So Jordan Morgan is a fine prospect, all right? I think this is actually a really deep offensive tackle class, but Jordan Morgan is more of a left tackle, and I think he's just like, he's all right. I don't think he has a very high ceiling. I think that his floor is relatively high. I think he'll be a decent player. At the very least, he'll be a good swing tackle in the league, good backup. But, what's really the ceiling there? I don't think he's got that ceiling that you want for a first-round offensive tackle. So, listen, if you still need a tackle on day 2, Jordan Morgan is a fine prospect. You can keep Broderick Jones on the right side of the line if you really need to. But at the end of the day, I like Jordan Morgan, and if he became a Pittsburgh Steeler, I wouldn't necessarily complain about it. All right, so now before I get to the rest of your questions on this week's mailbag, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today or go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Football season may be over, guys, but the action on the floor when it comes to college and NBA basketball is just heating up, and with quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types to work with, that's what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the United States of America. How does it work, you ask? Well, here's how you play. Pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry with our friends at Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks, guys. So get started right now. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. First time super chatter here, $10 from Charles Bromer, some Ric Flair drip. Woo! And he says, sup gang, thoughts on Cooper DeJean, Roman Wilson, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the draft. Cooper DeJean right now in terms of Steelers draft targets, #2 on my list among corners. Only second to Quinion Mitchell, who is arguably the best cornerback prospect I have evaluated. He is that damn good. But Cooper DeJean, coming off a really big, really major leg injury, but when he's on the field, he's unbelievable. He can play corner, safety, nickel corner. He's awesome, man. So those are my top draft targets in first round for the Steelers. I think Cooper is absolutely phenomenal. If the Steelers took him, I mean, he's exactly the type of versatile chess piece on defense that Mike Tomlin loves to use. Okay, Roman Wilson, 6-foot receiver, a little bit shorter, I guess, but 6 foot isn't necessarily short. He's a decent run blocker. He played in an offense there in Michigan where he had the run block, so he fits the offensive structure here in Pittsburgh. Great route runner, great hands for his size. I think that Mike Tomlin has fallen in love with him. He's had a relationship with him going back to high school. So Roman Wilson is a name to watch out for in round 2 or round 3 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr., good overall linebacker. He's my #2 inside linebacker target for the Steelers this year, only to Edgerrin Cooper. Really good player, good in coverage, very well-rounded inside linebacker in this year's draft. $5 super chat here from Pow. Pow! Are you saying Pow or Pow? Pow! Unrelated, but I've been here since the first live. So glad to see the growth this channel has had. We all appreciate the grind. Sperry. Well, I appreciate all of your guys' support. You guys are the reason why I wake up in the morning and I talk Steelers. And I mean, I have gotten zero sleep this week during NFL free agency with the Russ news and the Diontae Johnson stuff and Diontae Jackson coming here. I've been watching so much film, doing so much research for you guys. This is our Super Bowl here at Steelers Talk, so we appreciate you. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we have the most extensive Steelers coverage on YouTube, 100% free. Then we got one from Siglo here. It says, I think we will still pick up Justin Fields. Wow. I think the Steelers might be in the mix, Producer Coop, just because nobody else seems to want him. And we know Mike Tomlin likes him. Russell Wilson's only on a 1-year deal. I think this depends on what the Steelers feel about Kenny Pickett, because if they still think Pickett can be their guy in the long term, and everything that I know about this team says that they do, they're not getting Justin Fields. But if they don't believe in Kenny Pickett, and they want Justin Fields to be the long-term option, and you can get him for like a 5th or a 6th-round pick. You can use that 6th-round pick you just got from Carolina to get Justin Fields as your backup, with his kind of running ability. Personally, I would do it. All right, personally, I would trade a 6th-round pick for him, and I'd trade Kenny Pickett elsewhere. All right, but I think the Steelers are probably going to keep Kenny Pickett, and I don't think they'll get Justin Fields. Hashtag Steelers from Nicholas says maybe Hunter Renfrow would be good. He's a slot guy. He's a little bit smaller, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's much of a run blocker, which is really what Arthur Smith likes in his guys, and that's really the litmus test for me is like, can they run block? Because if it's a no, then they're probably not going to be coming here. All right. Like Diontae Johnson, a big reason why he had to go is because he's not a run blocker. And that's what you need to be in this offense. So I'm not sure if Hunter Renfrow is an option. He's a good player, good route runner, limited athlete. But because he doesn't really provide much for you in terms of run blocking, I don't see Arthur Smith picking him up. $5 super chat from DeBerg56. $5 super chat here says Khan has to be talking to Boyd. He's got pushed to the side because of Chase and Higgins. Boyd is that dog. He will block better and no play DJ. So Boyd is a dog, all right? He is a Pittsburgh boy through and through. He's a Pitt Panther. He played his college ball at Ben Heinz Field. And, he's got Yinzer written all over him, man, because he is one. And he says he wants to play for the Steelers at some point in his career. I think he'd be a perfect wide receiver 3 option and big slot receiver for this team. He's tailor-made for what Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith look for at this position. Now, is the $8.5 million price tag that Pro Football Focus is projecting for him too much? I don't know. It might be for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they might rather go out and get a cheaper option like a Nick Westbrook-Akine or a Josh Reynolds. But Tyler Boyd is a number 3 receiver. I mean, good Lord, man. We saw what he could do as a number 3 in Cincinnati, Coop, with Russell Wilson and George Pickens and a really good rookie receiver. Give me Tyler Boyd, baby. Let's make it happen. All right, so now, if you want Tyler Boyd to come home, do me a favor. Click that thumbs up icon because, man, we got to make this happen, in my opinion, man. It would be maybe the story. I mean, okay, Russell Wilson's going to be the story of Pittsburgh sports for this year, but Tyler Boyd coming home, oh my gosh, that'd be a great one. We might go live if they sign Tyler Boyd, all right? We might go live on this channel if they do that. So make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you think that's a good idea. All right, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button. We're probably pushing this mailbag out on Saturday. It's being filmed on Wednesday, so if any of the questions, any of the topics are outdated, say the Steelers already signed Tyler Boyd or something like that, just know we filmed this on Wednesday, guys, so don't scream at me too much in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button, and until next time, here we go, Steelers. All right, let's go, baby. We're going to keep this party rolling as long as the super chats keep rolling in.
Spare Dog, the Chicago Bears made a quarterback move.
No way.
They signed Brett Ripien to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, they definitely don't expect Fields to be in that room next year.
Fields will not be on that roster.
Like, they're going to move Fields.
Now, what I do think is possible, though, is I think they could keep Fields through the draft and then wait for training camp / preseason, see if there's some crazy QB injury, and then they trade Fields. I can see that happening.
What I think is he's going to get they're going to keep waiting to trade him until they get a deal that they like.
100%.
Like, I think if someone offered them a 3rd-round pick for Fields at this point, they would take it. Like,
yeah. If they were offered a 3rd-round pick today, Justin Fields would not be on the Bears.
Like, I think that right now he's probably getting, 4th, 5th-round pick offers?
I bet, yeah.
And, like
if you're the Steelers,
if you're the Bears, why wouldn't you just keep him on your team until after the draft, for example? Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Keep him after the draft through training camp until someone's in desperate need of a quarterback.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams that needed quarterbacks this year, Coop, they come from the McVay or the Shanahan trees.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't like quarterbacks like Justin Fields, man. They don't like guys like Fields that are super athletic and playmakers outside of the pocket. They like guys that stay in the pocket, that stay within structure and throw the ball accurately. And Justin Fields doesn't do that.
But make no mistake, if you're looking for more of a dual threat, Justin Fields is the best rushing quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as a backup option with a good run game, I mean, I would like him as the backup for the Steelers.
I would too. If I'm Omar Khan, I'm going to Ryan Poles and
I'm offering one of my 6th-round picks.
Yeah,
you just got another one from the Carolina Panthers yesterday.
You might as well offer it. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I like Justin Fields a lot more than I like Pickett.
Yes.
Now, I mean, with that being said, this organization absolutely shafted Kenny Pickett by pairing him up with Matt Canada.
Pickett got screwed. There's no question.
But at some point, man, you have to start playing a lot better than what he had. And even in the one game that Kenny Pickett supporters point to as his breakout game without Matt Canada, they scored 17 points that game against the Bengals. They had no red zone touchdowns that game. I feel bad for Kenny Pickett because the kid himself, he's a hard worker. He's a good kid. He's a good leader. He deserved a better opportunity than he was given. But I mean, based on what I've seen on his film, there's just not enough there to be confident, even with a new offensive coordinator coming in, that he was going to get you into Super Bowl contention. And listen, with the roster that you have now, this is a team ready to win now. You can't completely gamble your season on a quarterback that has looked as bad as Kenny Pickett has looked the last 2 years. You just can't. It's malpractice, especially if you have a guy like Russell Wilson, all right, somebody that had a better passer rating than Patrick Mahomes last year, available for $1.2 million. And for those of you watching at home, no, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is worse than Russell Wilson. Calm down. All right, but the fact that you can get a quarterback that had a better passer rating than Patrick Mahomes last year for $1.2 million, when guys are getting paid $45 million at Kirk Cousins. I'm taking the deal on Russ. He's got the playoff experience, Super Bowl experience. He's thrived in a similar situation in Seattle where they're going to run the football, they're going to dominate on defense. Coop, you want to guess over the last 34 regular season games, how many games have the Pittsburgh Steelers defense given up 20 or less points?
20 or less? 14.
Coop, if you can't hear him, Coop just guessed 14. They have given up 20 or less points 22 times in 34 games. Okay, that is the number one in the National Football League by a lot. All right, so the fact that the Steelers have barely been hanging on by a thread despite having the best scoring defense in the league the last 2 years, I mean, that just shows you how bad the offense and how bad the quarterback play is. You're not scoring any points. Last year, Kenny Pickett scored 20 or more points with this offense 3 times. Russell Wilson with the Broncos in 15 starts last year, worse weapons and all that, a mismatched scheme with Sean Payton, did it 9 times. All right, that's 6 more times. What are we talking about here? Russell Wilson is a clear upgrade over Kenny Pickett.
No doubt.
And I feel bad for the kid. I do. And maybe he'll get another opportunity this year if Russ stinks, which I don't think is going to happen, because guess who was number 1 in passer rating when throwing under play action? Russell Wilson. Guess what his adjusted completion percentage was with play action last year? Over 80%. Guess what his big-time throw percentage was with play action? Over 10%. That is over 4 points higher than the league average. And that's what he's going to be doing here.
AKA, we got him for the minimum.
So AKA, you have a defense that's going to consistently hold teams to under 20 points scoring, and you've got an offense with 2 good running backs, an offensive coordinator that knows what he's doing, a great set of weapons, we hope. Okay, they need to get 2 more starters this offseason. You hope you can pair George Pickens with a couple other good receiving weapons. You got Pat Freiermuth as your tight end, and you've got arguably the best play-action quarterback in football in a system where he's going to be doing almost exclusively play action.
Yep.
This is going to work, in my opinion. I have belief. I have hope. I have optimism, and I think that the Steelers have a fighting chance at a Super Bowl now, whereas sitting here last week on Steelers Talk Live, I had no hope for the Steelers to win the Super Bowl with Kenny Pickett.
And rant?
What's that?
End rant?
End of rant. Your response.
No, I was just going to go to the next super chat from Trappin. It says, what safety should we sign? We wanted Kenny Moore. Well, at least I wanted Kenny Moore.
Kenny Moore's a nickel.
Yeah, safety, nickel.
He can play safety, but he'd be free safety.
Okay, so he would play free safety?
Yeah, because he's smaller.
Okay.
You need.
So then tell me, what safety should we sign?
Julian Blackmon.
There you go. Kenny Moore's counterpart.
Exactly. His former teammate there in Indianapolis. He's a bigger body, so you can put him in the box. He's a strong. He's played free safety before. He not very effectively, I might add, because he didn't have enough speed to survive out there. But he can play strong safety, and he can play it well. He's 25 years old. He had a good PFF grade last year.
Yes.
You can get him for, according to Pro Football Focus, like $5.5 million a year. I'd take that deal. If you pay Justin Simmons, it's going to cost you $13.
Exactly,
that's
not worth it.
The Steelers don't have that kind of cash. At least I don't think they have that kind of cash. Now, you can restructure and move things around, but how much are you really going to create with that? I mean, I guess we'll see. But A-Juice comes in here with a $2 super chat. What's up, A-Juice? I don't want to know what the A means.
Ask Skip Bayless.
Ask Skip Bayless what the A and A juice means. What about Calvin Austin III? I like Calvin. He's a good fourth receiver. If Arthur Smith ever uses a 4-receiver set,
which he really doesn't,
which he really never does, Calvin Austin's a good fourth receiving option. And he's a great punt returner. That's what he's there for. That's probably going to be his main function.
Yeah.
But in this offense with Arthur Smith, you have to realize that he wants everybody, wide receivers, running backs, offensive linemen, tight ends, to be versatile, to be big, to be strong, to run block, and be able to be receivers.
I was going to say, he likes his receivers to really be able to run block, right?
Yes, really wants that run block element so that he can really accentuate the run game with Najee and Jalen.
Exactly.
So Calvin Austin III is tiny. He provides zero value as a run blocker.
Oh, if Matt Canada was still here, he'd find a way to get Calvin Austin the ball on a jet sweep.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we're not going to. We might see 1 or 2 jet sweeps all season next year. We would see 1 or 2 of those bitches a game.
How fucking awful was Matt Canada as OC of this team?
I mean, like combining. I said before the last season started, the X factor for the Steelers season would be how Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada performed. Because if they didn't perform well, no shot at a Super Bowl.
Well, and look what happened.
But if they developed, they would have been a Super Bowl contender last year. I mean, the defense was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Joey Porter Jr. really came into his own. They had the weapons, all that stuff. But because Matt Canada and his offense was so bad, it was a high school offense.
Oh, and by the way, he blamed the fans for that too.
Yeah, and he blamed the fans for it. And then Kenny Pickett, even in that offense, I mean, it was terrible.
Awful.
Right? Last year, it was a situation where, people want to blame Pickett or they want to blame Canada for the whole thing. It was both of them.
It's both.
It wasn't something where, Pickett had 0 opportunities to throw the football anywhere on the field. Everyone was covered up all the time, and he had no options to throw it.
100%.
It wasn't that. But it also wasn't, Kenny Pickett had all the opportunities in the world, and Canada put him in a position to succeed. That's not true either.
Nope.
They were both bad. And, you can't be as bad as they were together if both parties aren't terrible.
Exactly.
It's kind of it's like the exact opposite of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. People want to be like, oh, Tom Brady gets all the credit for that run. Or, oh, Bill Belichick made Tom Brady. They made each other.
There are equal parts of blame.
You can't win 6 championships over the run of a head coach and quarterback if both parties aren't all-time great at what they do.
Wait, but Brady is a system quarterback, and the balls were deflated.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right, just the opposite. They're mirror images of each other. Both Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, all-time greats at their respective positions, right? Head coach, quarterback.
No doubt.
And you can't do that without both.
Correct. Absolutely.
And you can't be as bad as the Steelers' offense has been the last 2 seasons if both the offensive coordinator and the QB aren't terrible, because they both were.
No question about it.
$2 super chat from DeBerg says, restruck contract, Alex, TJ, and Minka's contracts. I think TJ...
Alex and Minka, yes.
Alex and Minka for sure. I think TJ only has 2 years left on his deal.
You could still restructure it.
Yeah, but then next year the cap hit is going to be massive. But
you just have to extend it.
You can extend him.
Yeah.
So with TJ, God, how old is TJ Watt? I think he's
28?
Late 29.
29.
Yeah, I thought he was getting close to 30. I still think he's got at least, 3, 4, 5 good years left?
Yeah, maybe more. I mean, edges can play into their mid to late 30s.
So, here's what you could do. You could restructure TJ, create even more space, and then you could extend him next offseason for another 2-3 years.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you could create even more space by doing that next year.
And no doubt. I mean, the notion that, the cap is fake, it's not fake, but you can always find room.
Yeah, you have to work around it. I mean,
exactly.
The Los Angeles Rams are a perfect example of that. It's not fake.
They find room every year.
Well, not only that, but like they've been in cap hell the last 2 years because they kept backloading contracts when
that's true.
When they were getting all these star players, right? So they backloaded Aaron Donald's contract, and he's got a massive cap hit this year.
Well, and the cap also isn't fake because look at what the Chargers had to do. They had to cut Mike Williams, and they had to cut. Well, I guess they're keeping Khalil Mack and they're keeping Keenan Allen, but they had to cut Mike Williams.
Yeah, they had to cut Mike Williams. Before you ask, I actually answered the question earlier. I don't think it's going to happen with the Steelers. He's just too similar to George Pickens.
Mike Williams, yeah.
He doesn't provide any versatility in the slot like George. I mean, George can actually play the slot a little bit, but Mike Williams is a big no. And I think that they're going to try to find somebody that they could put either in the slot or outside next season so that it opens up the possibilities of the guy that they draft in the NFL draft this year.
Agreed.
You know, because like you can get a Roman Wilson who can play on the inside in the slot, right? Or you could get a Donnie Mitchell in the first round to play the outside, right? So like, I like the Juju fit, especially for the price that you would get Juju for.
What would you get Juju for?
2-3 million.
Now, someone asked this in the chat. What do you think about Ladd McConkey?
I like him.
Beast of a route runner.
I mean, the thing about Ladd McConkey, super fast, A, and B, like, he's going to be a top 10 route runner in the league right away.
Yeah.
Like, he's that good. Like,
no, he's an animal.
He reminds me of Cooper Kupp. Like,
I wonder why.
That's a crazy comp to throw out there.
Why does he remind you of Cooper Kupp?
Because of the route running. Why are you looking at me like that? He wants me to say because Cooper Kupp's white and Ladd McConkey's white. No, it's because that they're both elite route runners, and they're both really. Well, I guess Coop is actually slower than Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, he is.
Even though I think Cooper is bigger than Ladd McConkey.
Trappin' Lido with the 2 says Kenny plays like the game is too fast. Absolutely, I think the game has been too fast for Kenny.
Yeah, and listen, like maybe he would have gotten better, and I actually think he would have gotten better in Arthur Smith's offense if he would have been given the chance to start this year. I don't think the Steelers would have been like a bad team because they're never bad with Mike Tomlin.
Right.
Like, they would have been like, again, 9-8, 10-7. Maybe you make the playoffs. Maybe you don't as a wild card, and then they lose in the first round, even if they make it. That's what it would have been with Kenny Pickett. And it would have been better offensively for Pickett. I think that this offense is quarterback friendly. I think it fits his skill set, the whole 9 yards.
No question.
But it wouldn't have been enough to even sniff the Super Bowl, whereas now you have Russell Wilson on a vet minimum contract. You're paying $5 million for your 2 quarterbacks this year so far.
Yeah, we're paying $1.21 million for Russell Wilson while the Browns are paying like $40 million to Deshaun Watson.
And by the way, Deshaun Watson had numbers similar to Kenny Pickett.
And guess what? It's all guaranteed. Unbelievable.
The Browns are just a fucking joke,
They're
man.
A joke,
and
dude.
the thing that I can't even wrap my mind around is that Browns fans are laughing at us.
It's unbelievable.
For signing Russ when we just got the best value contract for a starting quarterback in the history of the NFL. And they're stuck paying a sexual predator, like whatever the number is, 240, 280, whatever it is, million guaranteed.
That's why they haven't won a Super Bowl since ever.
And they traded 3 firsts for him. People talk about Russ being the worst trade of all time.
Man.
That is the worst trade of all time. Because you look at what Deshaun Watson has done in Cleveland the last 2 years. All right? Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco
They outplayed him.
Have been better than him in the same offense, with the same weapons, with the same offensive line. Deshaun Watson's cooked.
Crazy.
Deshaun Watson's cooked. He stinks.
All right.
The Browns are going to stink next year. And you know what else? Oh, actually, you know what doesn't stink, though? Our friends at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the Prize Picks app for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Football season may be over, folks. I know I'm just as upset as you are, but guess what? It's March, and it's the season of basketball. Whether it's tournament season for your favorite college team or the fight for playoff home court in the NBA, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of the year. Get in on the excitement with our friends at Prize Picks today, America's #1 fantasy sports app where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. How does it work, you ask? Well, here's how you play Prize Picks. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Here's my entry for tonight's NBA action. I got the more on James Harden at just 3.14 points. I'm taking that. Then we'll take the more on the Goblin with the Demon and Goblin promotion that they're going on. It's a lower, or it's a lower risk pay. It's an easier projection, but you get the lower payout there. And then I'll take the less on Jamal Murray in terms of points tonight. You can get going right now with Prize Picks when you download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make those picks. So get started right now and make your basketball viewing experience this March even more interesting. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. $2 super chat from Trappin' Lido again says, Rush revenge season. Let's ride. Absolutely.
Steelers Nation. Let's ride.
And by the way, revenge season is going to start with the revenge game week 1, Monday Night Football. No, that's not official, but I'm like 100% sure that the NFL is not going to be able to contain themselves with that storyline.
The NFL they'll just be splooging all over themselves for that one.
Like, obviously Kansas City gets the kickoff game because they're the champs.
Oh yeah.
And then Sunday Night Football that week will be like the Cowboys or some shit.
The Cowboys Giants, like it always is,
or the Eagles maybe. And then Monday night it might be a doubleheader, but one of those games, probably the later game if we're being honest, because it's on the West Coast, is going to be Steelers Broncos in Mile High, where Russell Wilson and the Steelers will beat Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos by 36 points. Calling it right now.
36?
Maybe not 36.
I like the confidence.
I think the Steelers offense is going to come out hot next year.
I like the confidence.
Especially with they lost Justin Simmons. They're losing everybody there in Broncos country. And we've got one of the Black Diamonds here, your Royal Highness himself, the King. Kyle King says AB and Lev are both trying to return the pit.
CTESPN?
Yeah, bring back the Killer Bees. Nah.
I don't think Ben Roethlisberger wants to play much anymore.
Yeah, nah, fam. I think AB is mostly just joking about that. Le'Veon, I think, is actually semi-serious about it.
You never know when AB is joking or not because he is just so messed up here.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, it is crazy.
Like, he is a great follow on Twitter or X, whatever you guys want to call it.
I send Sperry tweets every day about Antonio Brown.
We have noties turned on for him because it is funny as all hell. But man, when that guy eventually dies and they cut open his head and they get his brain,
it will be an experiment the likes of which we have never seen.
It is going to be like mush. It's literally not going to be a brain anymore. It's just going to be some sort of brain soup. All right, man. Do you think it's time to kind of wrap things up here, Coop?
We'll hang out for a few more minutes. Let's see if any moves happen, and if not, we'll go ahead and sign off. Well, obviously, if any move happens with the Steelers, we'll come back and get you a video at the Bleaks.
And if they sign Tyler Boyd, Pittsburgh native coming back.
If they sign Tyler Boyd, we're probably going live.
We're going live again. All right.
Probably going live.
But hey, keep going. If you keep putting in those super chats, we'll stay live for as long as they keep coming in, folks. All right. So keep them coming. We still have 630 people here.
Shout out to the Yinzers, baby.
Shout out to the real ones. I mean, we probably have some streams going on right now with like 80 people. We got 630. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. We got the best damn fans in the National Football League. Everybody knows it.
Alex Manifield asked, did we sign anyone today?
We did not.
We did not.
The Steelers, head coach Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, the GM, and even Arthur Smith was in Georgia today, Athens.
Ooh, it was Athens Pro Day today.
For the Pro Day.
As our good friend of the show, Joe Zena, would say, they move in silence like the G in lasagna.
Yes, they do. So another thing to discuss here, Coop, is when is the Russell Wilson press conference?
Yeah, have the Steelers made it official that he signed his contract yet?
I actually don't think they
have. My guess is at this point it won't be till next week.
Do you think he'll sign like next week?
No, I bet he signs like today. They'll
Sure.
announce it today, and then they'll have an official presser sometime next week. Because I bet they'll want Mike Tomlin there, and they'll probably want Omar Khan there too. So.
Yeah, I think that they'll probably want Khan, Rooney, and Tomlin, right?
And Tomlin, yeah.
And then also Russ, of course.
Exactly.
And
And then also, I wonder if they do like a huge presser with Russ, with Patrick Queen, and with Diontae Jackson. I wonder if they just do it all three.
So, Shane on sports on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Some guy. Who is this guy? Adam Sheen. Do you know who this guy is?
Sounds kind of familiar.
He's a radio personality. He says the Steelers have no chance of winning a single game against the Baltimore Ravens next year.
Oh, just like they didn't this year when they swept them?
Clearly, he doesn't know Lamar Jackson playing against the Steelers defense.
Yeah, that's weird.
Clearly, he doesn't know about the Steelers sweeping them fools, even though one of the games, they had Lamar Jackson fully healthy for him, and he was playing against Kenny Pickett.
Some people just need to be quiet.
I mean,
too many people have platforms, man.
What are we doing, man?
That's a joke.
I mean, don't speak unless you know what you're talking about, all right? $1 super chat from Matthew Nelson says money mouth face. Oh, that's an emoji.
Little sticker.
Money mouth face.
Money mouth face.
Sounds like some slang from like a 16-year-old that I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. $2 super chat from Liam King.
Hold on, it's a first timer.
We'll get you up here in a second, Liam.
Shout
There you
out
are.
to Liam.
First time super chatter. Let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo! Shout out to my friend Liam for his first ever super chat. Gotta love it.
What do you say, Spare Dog?
I mean, it's
Steelers haven't done shit.
Steelers. And that's why I think a move might be like on the horizon.
I know.
I feel like we're going to get off live and then 5 minutes later, they signed Tyler Boyd or they signed Bobby Wagner. And then we got to go live again.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Well,
God.
how about this? We'll hang out for 5 more minutes. If no super chats come in, we'll sign off.
All right.
And then we will we'll go from there.
We need to make at least, what do you say, $100 next 5?
Oh, yeah, to stay live?
All right.
That sounds good.
We need to make at least $100. So right now we're at $112. So if we can get up to $212, $100 more dollars in super chats the next 5 minutes.
I'll make a deal. How about 200 flat?
All right, well, if we can get to $200 flat. All right, we just got the first 5. All right, chip away at it.
Kevin.
If we can get to $200 in super chat revenue, we'll stay live for what, another 10 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go 10 minutes.
10, 15, 20,
If you
30.
if you guys want to keep hanging out with us, man, let's get this done. $5 super chat from Kevin the Elder God says, would you rather see Boyd or Renfro in black and gold?
Boyd.
Not even close, it's Tyler Boyd. Not even close.
Renfro's kind of cooked, if we're being honest.
Renfro's kind of cooked. He's not the type of guy that they're looking for. They like athletic, big, run-blocking wide receivers. That's not Renfro's profile. So don't think Renfro is going to be an option.
Although the Steelers do need a slot. I mean,
but Tyler Boyd's a slot.
Yeah, that's true. Boyd does play the slot mainly.
And he's a great run blocker.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like one of the best slot wide receiver run blockers in the league. Right next to like Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson.
I feel like that's a very unique profile that Boyd has.
Yeah, I mean he's versatile. He can play outside too. He's got the size. It's not like he's like Calvin Austin III and like he can't play on the outside.
Right.
You know, it's not like that. So Renfro, it's a slot receiver, not much athleticism, all those different things. I like Tyler Boyd. Now, is the asking price too much? Maybe. That might actually be the case.
If you're getting Boyd 3 years, $27 million, are you doing it?
What's that?
3 years, $27 million. $9 million a year. Is that a little too much?
I don't know, man. It kind of depends on what they're willing to do with these restructures with Highsmith and Minka and how much they're willing to convert. I feel like the plan, knowing the Steelers and kind of like the way they do things, is like they took a bargain bin deal on Allen Robinson last year, right?
Yep.
So I feel like they're going to get another like kind of bargain bin receiver here.
Now, here's a name that we haven't really talked about a whole lot. Curtis Samuel.
I mean, he's a bit smaller.
Yeah, doesn't really fit Arthur Smith.
I don't know if he's a fit. Good, and like he can do a lot of things. You can even play him as a running back if you want.
Yeah.
Really good on jet sweeps. Would have been a great Matt Canada player. But is he an Arthur Smith player? I don't know.
Matt Canada, what a joke.
I'm looking up his stuff right now.
Emmanuel Brooks coming in with the 5. Shout out.
Yeah, so Curtis, 5'11", 195. That's not small. I'll look up his run blocking grade here.
Emmanuel Brooks says, will Russ earn respect of the locker room, and will Hayward stay for 2 more years to see if he can get a ring? I think Russ will definitely earn the respect of the locker room. I don't think that'll be a problem at all. As far as Hayward goes, I think that depends on how the Steelers finish this year. If the Steelers are close, like let's say they finish 12-5 and they get to the divisional round, I could see Hayward staying another season. But if it's another season like last year where they barely make it in the playoffs and lose in the first round, I think Hayward's done.
Yeah. Minute 30 left. We still need $80 in super chats to keep on going.
A first-time super chatter from Emmanuel. Let's give him some bricks there. Drip.
Woo! Says let me answer this. I think that Russ's leadership ability is severely underrated.
I do too.
Just ask Cortland Sutton, the number 1 receiver in Denver, how he feels about Russell Wilson. He's like, he worships him.
He loves him.
He loves him. Jerry Jeudy likes him. I mean, Bobby Wagner, one of the greatest all-time leaders in league history at the inside linebacker position, is like best friends with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, Russell Wilson is a high-caliber dude. He is a NFL Man of the Year. Now, you can say that, he embraces the superstar persona too much and he leans into it too much. And listen, all those points are fair, but it's kind of a... When you had a guy in Big Ben for so many years, and this is not to disrespect Big Ben at all, but like he wasn't the type of guy that was like in the building all the time, watching film, super positive all the time, like great leader. Like he was in there, he was a decent leader, and he just kind of banked in on, I'm so good at football, I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to just rock it because I'm so good.
Of
right?
course.
And that doesn't take away from his legacy. He's one of the best quarterbacks. He's definitely the best quarterback in Steelers history. Not even close in my mind. But, Russell Wilson, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, so to speak, where he's coming in and he's super positive. And by the way, man, like I was listening to some of like the mic'd up stuff that they have on like YouTube and stuff last night.
Yeah.
And like he's going to everybody, don't blink, don't blink. You know who else says that shit? Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
They're a match made in heaven, in my opinion, man. Absolutely. Do we have another one here? $10 super chat here from Chase Talk Steelers.
I want Simmons and a decent wide receiver, and I'll be happy. I don't think you're getting Simmons. I don't think that's happening.
Because you have your ball hawk.
You have Minka.
You have Minka as your ball hawk, and Simmons is like 190 pounds. I don't think that's big enough to be a strong safety. I know the Steelers want to be versatile with what they want to do, and Simmons doesn't really provide that, honestly.
No, he doesn't.
He's like a cover 4, cover 6 type guy, or he's like a true free safety in the middle of the field. He's not somebody that can come and play in the box.
As far as receivers,
plus he's going to be cost like $13 million or something.
Yeah, too much.
I think it might be too much. Now, if they sign him, that means that the Steelers obviously have a vision for him.
Of course.
And I trust Mike Tomlin. I just don't see the vision right now. I just don't.
Doubt.
Unless that vision is moving Minka to strong safety, which I am adamantly against.
No, yeah, I don't want to do that either. As far as receivers go, they will sign a receiver, and they'll probably draft one too. So they'll get at least 2 more receivers there.
Yeah, I got to feel like if they're going to spend money, they're going to spend money probably on some sort of veteran center. I don't know who.
How do you feel about Cam Curl, by the way, for strong safety?
Depends on price.
Yeah, because
if you can get Cam Curl,
because
he is a strong safety.
Yeah, he's a true strong safety, but I think he's probably going to cost too much money.
Yeah, I think that the projection for him is like $11 million per year. That's still a little bit rich for me. He's a better fit than Justin is, in my opinion, but yeah, I think that the Julian Blackmon is probably the number 1 guy I would consider. He's cheaper, he's younger, and I'd rather probably go with that. $10 super chat here from Ashton Mook. And he says, at pick 20, cornerback Cooper DeJean and Jackson Powers Johnson are available. Take Cooper and make him a top nickel/dime package corner, or convert to safety, or take your center of the future. Are those my only 2 options?
Those are your only 2 options.
I'm taking Cooper DeJean.
You're taking Cooper DeJean over Powers Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Corner is, especially in the way that the Steelers would use him, he would be like the versatile chess piece that they move everywhere. That's a more valuable player than a center who's going to get help from double teams and all these different things. And there's also really good centers in the later rounds.
Yeah, you could Cedric Van Pran.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cedric Van Pran would be a perfect Steelers center. Perfect.
And you can get him, what, in the third?
Early third.
Yeah.
Second.
Exactly.
Maybe he falls to the Steelers in the third round. Who knows? But also, Zach Frazier's going to be there in the later round.
West Virginia?
Graham Barton is going to be there. He can play tackle, too. Like, Graham Barton's played all three types of positions.
Oh, wow.
So having that kind of, like, injury versatility,
yes.
where, like, no matter who's getting hurt, like, Graham Barton can play everywhere, including center. That'd be interesting as well. $5 super chat from Julio Valles, a first-time super chatter. Here we go, some Ric Flair drip. Woo! And he says, do you think we have a chance at signing Mike Williams? I mean, yes, there's a chance that they sign him. I don't think they do.
I don't think the fit is really there for Mike Williams.
Like unless they're like dead set on getting somebody to play in the slot at receiver in the draft, I don't see why they would get Mike Williams because George Pickens is best on the outside.
Yep.
Same thing as with Mike Williams. Plus, he's 30.
Yeah.
Like, he's good as a run blocker. He's a big guy, all these different things. But I think the Steelers want to get an outside receiver in the draft. And that tells me that they're going to probably sign somebody in free agency that has at least slot versatility.
For sure.
Somebody that can play in the slot if need be. And Mike Williams doesn't really bring that, at least in my opinion. $10 super chat here from Clay.
Shout out Clay.
And he says, if we take Boyd today, do you gents think we'll be super aggressive in the draft for another receiver or focus on the trenches in the early rounds? Yes, they will take a receiver by, I would assume, round 2.
I think so, too. I think by the end of Friday, they will have a receiver that they draft.
The very least, round 3.
Yeah. By the end of Friday, they will draft a receiver.
Because, like, out of the guys that are still available on the free agency market, like, I don't know if I feel that good about Tyler Boyd being the plan at wide receiver 2. I'd feel great about it at wide receiver 3 and as a slot option.
Correct.
But, like, I would rather have George Pickens as your true number 1, then you draft your number 2 guy of the future in the first couple of rounds, and you get that pairing locked in for, like, the next several years.
Yep.
Then you have a guy in Boyd on, like, a 2, maybe 3-year contract, depending on price, to be your third receiver in the slot.
Yeah, I'm cool with all that.
That would be elite to me.
No doubt.
So, yes, I do think that they lock some sort of free agent wide receiver up by the end of this process. And I do think they will take a wide receiver early.
Shout out to Clay.
Shout out to Clay for the question. We're at 150. All right, so we got a minute and 30 minutes. Well, we got a minute 30 left.
We'll call it a minute 30.
So if somebody wants to be the hero here and put in a $50 super chat, we'll stay live for another 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so if you guys want to buy another 15 minutes, got to get $50 in the next 1 minute and 20 seconds. Or else we're gonna say goodbye for now, and then if they sign a big receiver or maybe Bobby Wagner or Justin Simmons, if they make a big signing, we'll go live again today.
If they sign Bobby Wagner. Wait. Oh, Bears, dang it.
What?
The Bears signed special teamer Ahmed Ogbon. I can't even pronounce that. Ogbongbemiga.
Oh.
The Titans signed Mason Rudolph.
Oh, we got to stay live for at least a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about Mason Rudolph to the Titans here. So congratulations to Mason Rudolph.
Absolutely.
All right, I am genuinely happy for him because he's got a shot to play there this year.
Yeah, I think so, right?
They're going to stick with Will Levis as their QB1 at least for now. But if he's like playing like Kenny Pickett next year and he stinks, Mason Rudolph's going to have a chance to play towards the end of the season again.
And maybe he'll audition for another job.
Yeah, man, I don't hate this at all. I don't hate this at all for Mason.
Clap it up for Mason, man.
Everybody clap it up for Mason. Everybody spam Mason in the chat. Everybody spam Mason in the chat. Congratulations to Mason Rudolph, Steelers legend, for landing with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, listen, when we're talking about Mason Rudolph here, man, we're talking about a guy that, in my mind, is always going to be a Steelers legend.
He's a Steelers legend, man.
For what he did this year. Coming in, he had to win those last 3 games to even think about getting into the playoffs with how competitive the AFC was this year. And not only did he deliver in all 3 of those games, the victories, but he finished the season in those 3 games with the highest passer rating in the National Football League. Now, he played the 31st and 30th ranked defenses his first 2 weeks, and then he played the backup team of the Ravens, essentially, in Week 18.
That's true.
So it's not like he was a world beater, and then he went into Buffalo in the playoff game and had a quarterback rating of 80, which would have ranked like 40th in the league this year if that was for his entire season.
Not to pile on, but the Titans just signed Mason Rudolph for triple what the Steelers got Russell Wilson for, is all I'll say. 1 year, $3.62 million deal for Mason Rudolph to the Titans.
Mason Rudolph is a 3 times the amount of money. 3 times as expensive as Russell Wilson.
Love you, Mason.
I mean,
best of luck in Tennessee.
Best of luck to you in Tennessee, Mason. And listen, man, we loved singing the Mason Rudolph song. By the way, can we get a Mason Rudolph song going right now?
Yeah, I kind of forget it, though.
One last, it's in a doc.
Send me the doc if you find it.
Okay.
We'll sing a Mason Rudolph song.
And by the way, every $10 super chat that comes in, we'll sing another one, okay? Every $10 super chat that comes in, we'll sing a Mason Rudolph song. All right, because we had so much fun watching Rudy play this year.
Mike, that's my point, is that we got Russ for a bag of chips while Mason Rudolph is going for more than him. And Russ is the better player.
Another former Steeler signs with the team here. Armon Watts, rotational edge rusher, going to the Patriots.
The Pats for Armon Watts. Okay.
So, man, I wanted the Steelers to re-sign him because he was so good in the rotational role.
He was.
But he might be getting a starting job here in New England because they're kind of in shambles.
Yeah.
So good for Armon Watts. We're happy for these guys, man. Once a Steeler, always a Steeler. Appreciate them. Appreciate everything they did for us last year. And now we send them onto greener pastures, I suppose, for their careers.
Alrighty.
So, I mean, man, here's the thing with Mason. And listen, I get that he has his supporters, and there's some people that wanted Mason to be the starter for this team this year, and they thought that he earned it. And if he would have beaten Buffalo in Buffalo and, like, the numbers were better in that game,
he might have been.
I would have been in support of that.
Yeah.
I really would. Like, if he's beating Josh Allen on the road in the playoffs, that tells me that he's the type of guy that, with the team currently constructed, could maybe win a Super Bowl. But he didn't do that. He had a huge red zone interception in that game. And listen, I understand it was cold and it was snowy and there was snow on the ground and the ball's probably a little bit slippery and all that stuff, but he didn't show enough for me to take him over Russell Wilson at 1.2.
Shout out to Ronnie Everett. $10 super chat says for Mason. Cheers to that.
So we got 2 Mason Rudolph songs coming here. Man, yeah, Mason Rudolph. I mean, we knew it was probably going to be a backup role. I actually predicted he would be the Las Vegas Raiders bridge quarterback.
They went with Gardner Minshew.
And they went with Gardner instead.
They paid Gardner Minshew, too.
Yeah, $25 million. So Mason lands in a good spot for him in Tennessee. He's going to have a chance to maybe play in the second half of the year there. DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes, they have Nuke. Great city to live in, too.
Yeah, Nashville. Nashville's a great place to live in for him. So I'm happy for Mason. I appreciate everything that he did for this organization. And he's always going to be a Steelers legend. He's always going to be a friend of the Pittsburgh Steelers and of the Steelers Talk Nation.
Oh, yeah.
So,
once a Steeler, always a Steeler. Mason Rudolph.
And then also congratulations to Armon Watts for signing, I'm guessing, a starting level contract with the New England Patriots.
You think so? We don't have the deals on that yet.
He was a top 20 graded interior defensive lineman last year.
Really? I didn't know. I didn't realize he was
Armon Watts was damn good in a rotational role last year, man. And I really wanted to bring him back because he was so good in that role. But now you really need to start thinking about, if you're the Steelers, getting defensive line depth here over the next several weeks and months.
So it sounds like the Ravens are going to release OBJ with a post-June 1 designation.
Okay.
So he will be released tonight and be a free agent.
By the way, watch out for OBJ to the Steelers.
That could happen.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying there's a chance because he's boys with Russell Wilson.
No doubt.
Because he's trying to win championships now. The Steelers, if you think Russ isn't getting him on the horn right now and saying, hey, man, we've never played together. We're best buds. We work out during the offseason together. Like, this is our chance. Let's go get one. Let's go get number 7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He might take a $3 or $4 million contract to try to win a Super Bowl here.
Maybe. He could.
Now, I will say this. He's not exactly the type of guy that you immediately think of when you think Arthur Smith wide receiver.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a run blocker. It's not necessarily jacked up, like some of these other guys like Tyler Boyd that we're considering. So is it a fit? Maybe not. But is he, will Russell Wilson maybe be advocating for them to take him? It's possible. And if that's the case and OBJ is willing to take a short contract for a team-friendly deal, I'm just saying, watch out. It might happen. Okay?
It could happen.
It might happen. Are you ready to sing a couple? Actually, I'm going to tweet this out real quick. You want to give some shout-outs in the chat?
I'll shout out the chat here.
Before we sing the songs.
Pete Rowley, Mike in Texas. Keyshawn, the GOAT, Damian Roy, always in our chat. Joe L says Tyler Boyd over OBJ. I kind of agree. Matthew says OBJ stay away. Steel City 22 Exify. What's up, bro? Basic, what's up? Steelers dad, what's up? Cooper Owens, what's good? Mr. Deadhead, offside eats. Steelers to the bowl. If the Steelers go to New Orleans. Marilyn Krieger's here, a Black Diamond member. Shout out to Marilyn.
Marilyn, thanks for joining us.
Shout out to Marilyn.
Let's go. We're hoping for a Steelers signing.
We want a Steelers signing.
We have not had a Steelers signing announced live on the show yet.
Ridiculous.
We've been live for 4 straight days.
And no signings.
No signings when we've been live. It's been
Harry Cooper, I see. What does that say? Yoglob, shout out. Hot Rod 24, Gold Club member. IGT Kevin. Damian Roy. Steven Amaditz. What's up? What's up? What's going on, Yinzers? Yes, Mason Rudolph did go to the Titans 1 year, $3.62 million. Armand Watts also signing with the New England Pats. Who Sperry says could be a starting level contract there for Armand Watts.
You could make an argument. He earned himself a chance to be a starter in this league.
Dominic there as well.
Last year.
Dominic there. So are Khan and Tomlin both at Georgia Pro Day?
What's that?
Khan and Tomlin are both at Georgia Pro Day?
Yeah, and Arthur Smith.
They're not going to sign anyone if they're at freaking Georgia Pro Day.
Well, here's the thing, though. They might have their offers in place.
Yeah, true.
And then, what are they called? Agents are going to call and see if they accept their offers. So
wait, hold on.
Plus, Andy Weidel, the assistant GM, is probably in charge of smoothing everything over and all that stuff. So what's going on? An Eagles move?
No, it looks like the Eagles are going to get banged, for tampering because they were talking to Saquon Barkley before their legal period.
Ooh.
No shock that the Philadelphia Eagles would do something shady.
Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't think about doing that.
It says Eagles GM Howie Roseman spoke directly to Saquon Barkley during the negotiating period, which would violate the tampering rule. What a joke.
Can you explain to me how we still have 600 people watching this show?
People love the Yinzers, that's why.
We got the best fucking fans in the world, man. You guys are the best. We're so lucky to be covering this team and this fan base.
I don't know if you guys know this. I grew up in Dallas. I'm not necessarily a Cowboys fan, but I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. They are not Pennsylvania's team. It is the Steelers. No question about it.
No question.
No question.
All right, man. Oh, so JT Pixel says people need more info on what?
We would like it. We would like more info, but Omar Khan is depriving us.
Of like who they're gonna sign?
Well, of anything, of Steelers news.
All right, we got to sing these songs here. Every $10 super chat we get, we're doing a Mason Rudolph song. All right, are we ready?
Let's do it.
Rudolph, the third string QB, finally got a chance to play. And if the NFL tests him, they are gonna have to pay. All of the other QBs took the reps and called him names. Tomlin never let poor Rudy play in any football games. Then with the season on the line, Tomlin came to say, Rudolph, with your throws of might, won't you guide my team tonight? Then all the Yinzers loved him, and they shouted out with glee, Rudolph, the third string QB, you'll lead us to victory again. Rudolph, the third string QB, finally got a chance to play. And if the NFL tests him, they are gonna have to pay. All of the other QBs took the reps and called him names. Tomlin never let poor Rudy play in any football games. Then with the season on the line, Tomlin came to say, Rudolph, with your throws of might, won't you guide my team tonight? Then all the Yinzers loved him, and they shouted out with glee, Rudolph, the third string QB, you'll lead us to victory again from Maryland Krieger. Rudolph, the third string QB, finally got a chance to play. And if the NFL does test him, they are gonna have to pay. All of the other QBs took the reps and called him names. Tomlin never let poor Rudy play in any football games. Then with the season on the line, Tomlin came to say, Rudolph, with your throws of might, won't you guide my team tonight? Then all the Yinzers loved him, and they shouted out with glee, Rudolph, the third string QB, you'll lead us to victory. Give it up for Marilyn Krieger, a $20 super chat. Let's go. Mason Rudolph signs with the Tennessee Titans for over 3 times as much as we got Russell Wilson for. Unbelievable.
Unreal, man.
Well, actually, that's not true. It's just under 3 times. Because it's
roughly.
Because it's 1.21. So it was 3.6 what? 666?
It's on screen, brother.
Oh yeah, 6.3. I'm stupid, man. Okay. Math ain't mathin' today, man. Mason Rudolph, we salute you, my friend. Steelers legend for life. Best of luck to you in Nashville, backing up Will Levis. And by the way, man, good for him because he made nothing last year to be the third string for Pittsburgh. And if Pittsburgh didn't give him his opportunity, he would be selling real estate right now. He said it last year.
Yeah, he would.
He was getting ready to get his real estate license.
He still might after this season, but best of luck to Mason.
But hey, he played well enough to stay in the league, and
man.
He earned himself $3.62 million with what he did for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. And Jerry Dulac going on crying on Twitter saying, "Oh, Mason Rudolph deserves better than what the Steelers are doing."
Jerry.
They gave him a freaking opportunity when nobody else was giving it to him. Shut up, Jerry. Just shut up. All right? Like, they owe Mason Rudolph nothing. They gave him his opportunity. They had an opportunity to sign a better quarterback at a lower price point. They're allowed to do that. Period. What are we talking about, Jerry Dulac crying over Mason Rudolph?
Christ!
He's making $3.5 million next year. And he's going to have a chance to play somewhere. And he's still an NFL quarterback when he wouldn't be if it weren't for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so save the crocodile tears, Jerry Dulac. Mason Rudolph, Steelers legend for life. Love you, pal. Good luck in Nashville. $10 super chat from Titus Kitchen. Says, good luck, Rudolph. I'm sure you will be QB2. We'll sing you the Rudolph song here in a second. Coop's got to go piss for like the 7th time today.
Hydrate.
Goodness gracious. Fucking Christ.
Right.
Spider 2Y banana here. Coop's got to go Spider 2Y his banana over here. And then we'll get into the songs in just a second. Ooh, man. Titus Kitchens comes in with a $10 super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. Says, good luck, Rudolph. I'm sure you'll be QB2. And yeah, he will be QB2 there. No question about it. Will Levis will be the QB1 to start the year. And if Levis stinks and, like, they're still in somewhat playoff contention, Rudolph will get a chance to play. So, good fit for him. Great city to live in Nashville. Brian Callahan, I mean, I guess we'll see how good he is as a head coach. But, good luck to Mason Rudolph. I'm happy for him. He deserves the opportunity. And, yeah, that's how I feel, man. The Steelers made the right decision not bringing him back. Because if it would have been a competition between Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett, Coop, it would have divided the locker room. Like, there's players in the locker room that like Pickett, and there's players in the locker room that would have wanted Mason.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And that way, like, I know they said they want quote-unquote competition at the quarterback position, but competition isn't worth shit when your locker room isn't together and on the same page.
That's just not – yeah, exactly. You have to have a unified locker room, and you have to know what the pecking order is. Yeah, Rudolph will be QB2. Malik Willis just sucks.
Malik Willis,
he will not be in the NFL.
He might even get cut, and he might be a UFL quarterback.
He's a joke.
Actually, never mind. I think the UFL actually, and our friend of the show, what's his name? He was on the show. He's interviewed here. It's the corner, Madre Harper. Madre, our guy. He came on the show before preseason, actually.
Yep.
And he's a good guy. He's a good dude. He lives here in Texas, and he's going to be playing in the UFL this year. So shout out to Madre Harper if you're watching the show, man. Good luck to you. Titus will sing you a Mason Rudolph song here in just a second. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Sorry, Coop. I need to get to my script.
No, you're good.
All right, so shout out to our friends at Prize Picks today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS or use or download the app, the Prize Picks app for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Football season may be over, folks, but the action on the floor for both college basketball with March Madness and the fight for playoff home court in the NBA is just heating up. So there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of the year. Get in on the excitement with our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. With quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So how do you play? Here's how you play Prize Picks, guys. It's super easy. Pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to get your picks, and they have a bunch of different sports, man. You can do NBA, college basketball, NHL. You can even do NASCAR on Prize Picks when you download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks.
How about this one, Spared
Whoa!
How about this one? Calvin Ridley to the Tennessee Titans along with Mason.
Mason Rudolph, when he gets his chance at the end of the year, he's going to have 2 big targets to throw to.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, all the reporting surrounding Calvin Ridley, dead wrong.
Dead wrong. They thought he was either going to go to the Patriots or stay in Jacksonville. He goes to Tennessee. This kind of makes me think how dumb Tennessee looks for getting rid of A.J. Brown in the first place.
But here's something that might be interesting to talk about, though. Because the Titans, I think we all know, I don't think they're competing for anything next year.
I would agree.
I think DeAndre Hopkins is on the last year of his contract.
They have Hopkins and Ridley. That's wild.
Could DeAndre Hopkins be on the trade market? And if he is, should the Steelers consider getting him? I don't think so.
If he's on the trade market, you wouldn't go get him?
Unless, like, the trade price is, like, a 5th or a 6th round pick. Like, something that, that draft pick isn't going to be anything in the future. Like, if you could give up the 6th round pick that you just got from Carolina to get an aging DeAndre Hopkins, who's still playing good football, by the way. He's getting older, but he's still really good. I would take that. But, I mean, you have to pay him his contract, and you have to give up a draft pick to get him. So, for me, I'm not offering too much for him. I'd probably rather sign Tyler Boyd for a team-friendly deal if I'm the Steelers.
Yeah, I probably would as well. Nuke is obviously one of the best receivers this league has seen over the last 15 years. But he's on the downturn, obviously. He got cut by Arizona, goes over to Tennessee. Still had a decent year last year, I believe.
And by the way, this is going to give Will Levis maybe 2 really good weapons to work with and really give him a chance to really see what he can do.
Obviously, Derrick Henry leaves, but they replaced him with Tony Pollard. So he has a solid running back, 2 really solid wide receivers.
Yeah, some good weapons there. Now they need to build the offensive line.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking right now at their kind of map, their lineup from Pro Football Focus. Andre Dillard.
He's okay.
He's okay, but they got Nicholas Petit-Frere as their other tackle.
He blows.
They need to get a tackle in the first round this year, I think.
They probably do, yeah.
Like
where are they drafting?
7th. So that's either going to be Joe Alt or Alou Fashanu.
That's right around Joe Alt territory right there.
And they got Chiga Okonkwo as their tight end. I like him. They got Kyle Phillips as their slot guy. I really like Kyle Phillips, even though he's always hurt. And they still got Treylon Burks, too. So they've got some weapons there in Tennessee. They just signed Lloyd Cushenberry as well. They're spending a lot. They got Chidobe Awuzie.
Yes. They've spent a lot of cash.
They got some players, man. They got
some dogs for sure.
And they've been connected to Justin Simmons.
Titans have?
Yeah, and they have a good backup now in Mason.
Yes, they do.
Are they trying to compete right now? I think they are. And by the way, for anyone in the chat saying that DeAndre Hopkins is washed and we don't want him.
Who did they get as their head coach again?
Brian Callahan. And I don't love that hire, man. But it's very obvious that they got him to get the most out of Will Levis and try to see what they have in him. Because with Vrabel and like the shitty OCs that he had there after Arthur Smith, just didn't get the job done.
No, they didn't. Plain and simple.
So DeAndre Hopkins, 81.0 Pro Football Focus grade last year. That was 18th in the National Football League, which was better than his 2022 grade of 72.9. So he's still kicking, and he's still a really good receiver in this league, man.
2 comments I wanted to address real quick.
Yep.
Chris says, I think they should sign Kyle Duggar. They used the transition tag on Duggar, so he is a restricted free agent, so to speak. The Steelers will not get Kyle Duggar.
Yeah.
And then Yoglob says, trade for Justin Jefferson. I would love it. Never going to happen in a million years.
You'd have to trade George Pickens and like 2 firsts for him.
Yeah. Not happening.
Not happening. Not happening.
He's the best receiver in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good.
It ain't happening, man.
But, George Pickens, like, I have a feeling with Russell Wilson, he's going to be like a top 10 at least receiver in the league next year. So it's like, would you rather have a top 10 receiver and 2 first-round picks for the next 2 years? Or would you rather have Justin Jefferson, the number one guy, pay him what you have to pay him, over $30 million, right? Justin Jefferson, it's a big name. It's not realistic. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Like, it's just there's no way they can make it happen, man. There's just, unfortunately. I love Justin Jefferson. Would love to see him in the black and gold someday. It's not happening now. So do we owe a Mason song?
We do.
All right, so let's get that done here. Rudolph, the third string QB, finally got a chance to play. And if the NFL tests him, they are gonna have to pay. All of the other QBs took the reps and called him names. Tomlin never let poor Rudy play in any football games. Then with the season on the line, Tomlin came to say, Rudolph, with your throws of might, won't you guide my team tonight? Then all the Yinzers loved him, and they shouted out with glee, Rudolph, the third string QB, you'll lead us to victory. Gotta love it. And by the way, man, Calvin Ridley getting the bag.
4 for 92.
$23 million per season.
Yes.
You still think the Steelers were going to sign Calvin Ridley? No way in hell.
Our boy Nathan Glass in the chat. He says, good afternoon, guys. Just got here. Any big moves? Not for the Steelers.
No. So the biggest news today is that Mason Rudolph signed.
Mason Rudolph signed with the Titans, as did Calvin Ridley. That's probably the biggest news of the day.
And we're still waiting because I just know. Just know.
We could be live here for 2 more hours, and then we'll sign off, and 5 minutes later, they will sign someone. That is what will happen.
Goodness gracious, man. We still got 470 people watching the show.
We'll hang out. I mean, I ain't got nothing else to do.
I mean, come on now. Come on, Steelers.
Come on now.
We need a receiver. We need a strong safety. We need a center. We need an offensive tackle.
Come on now, Chip.
Come on now, Con. Come on now, Omar. Need you here, man.
This is actually a really funny tweet from Mark Caboli, who I won't say is a friend of the show, but he is a Steelers media member. He says Calvin Ridley bet on himself and won.
Well,
do you get it? Because he got suspended for gambling. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I mean, Mason Rudolph gets a chance to play with Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins, and Chigaquanquo, who I actually really like as well. Plus, they're going to probably get Joe Alt or Alou Fashanu to put on the other side of Andre Dillard.
Yes.
I mean, Tennessee's offense might be, like, if Brian Callahan can coach and Will Levis is a good quarterback, and there's a chance that he is. He's kind of a dog, man. I could see the Titans kind of making a run.
Come on, Omar. Mina Kimes just put out this tweet, which I think is interesting. Tennessee paying Ridley, increasing the likelihood they go OT at 7. Does that mean one of the big 3 wide receivers falls to Chicago at 9?
I think so.
Think so, too. So they're going to get Caleb, and then they're going to pair him with
probably get Rome
or Malik Neighbors, whichever one
doesn't
go.
Either one is, like, unbelievable.
That's sick.
Like, I compare Malik Neighbors to, like, prime OBJ.
Dude, Malik Neighbors is awesome.
Like, he is incredible. Like, his film is just so much fun to watch.
LSU has just had some absurd receivers come out.
And by the way, like, that's one of the things that gives me pause about Jaden Daniels as a prospect. Like, yeah, he put up the best stats of any of these quarterbacks last year.
He had Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors.
And it's like, when you look at the film, and, like, I listen to all these talking heads say, oh, when I watch the film, Jaden Daniels' film is so clean and so good. And it's like, well, the reason for that is because he's taking a 5-step drop, and his first read is wide open down the field, and he's got a great deep ball, and he can hit him.
But you can say
But he's not going to have that level of separation and that much of an unfair advantage in the NFL, and he never throws the ball over the middle of the field.
But I'll say this. You could have said the same about Joe Burrow when he was in college, because he had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase as his 2 receivers.
But here's the difference, Coop. Joe Burrow was really, really good at the mental processing stuff.
That's fair.
Like, he was really good at going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 all across the formation, and Jaden Daniels is not at that spot. He's a better runner than Joe Burrow was, and listen, Jaden Daniels has the talent to be a perennial all-pro type guy, MVP candidate every year, like Lamar Jackson is now.
Yes.
I like Jaden Daniels more coming out of college than I liked Lamar Jackson, because he has less holes to fill in his game. But
he does.
But the holes are still there.
No doubt.
And he's not a better quarterback prospect than Drake May. I don't care what Chris Sims says. Chris Sims doesn't know dick, okay? I'm sorry. He doesn't.
Pause.
Maybe he does know dick. Maybe that's what I should be saying.
Jeffrey Pearson with the 20.
Oh, Jeffrey, let's go. First time super chatter. Let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo! Says we need 2 inside linebackers like Levin Kirkland. Trade down to get Jackson Powers Johnson, Peyton Willis, and Junior Colson. 2 wide receivers and a safety. So here's the thing. You don't need 2 of them. You have Landon Roberts. You have Patrick Queen.
You need 1.
So you need 1 to be in like the rotation. And honestly, that could be Cole Holcomb.
If healthy.
If healthy, right. But I could absolutely draft a rookie to fill that 3rd spot. Or let's throw this one out there. Sign Bobby Wagner to make the best linebacker trio.
I would do it.
He is like best friends with Russell Wilson.
Why not?
He wants to win championships.
He's a green dot. He's a leader. He is. This may be an exaggeration. He's one of the best. He is one of the best middle linebackers of all time. Of all time.
He might be the
best.
Yeah, 10 straight All-Pro seasons, including last year where he was a second-team All-Pro. He was a second-team All-Pro right next to Patrick Queen.
And he's going to be affordable. You would be nuts to not sign Bobby Wagner for his price.
If he wants, Ryder West says no Wagner.
Why
he says he's old and washed.
He is not washed.
He was an All-Pro last year.
He was second-team All-Pro.
He was a second-team All-Pro. How is that washed? Maybe you can project. Maybe you can say he's going to be washed next year, but in that case, you still have a Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen.
Now, I'll say this. There's someone who was in the chat that made this point. Steven, shout out to Steven. This is true. Bobby Wagner has played on the West Coast his entire career. He played in Seattle, played with Vegas, played with the Rams.
And here's the thing, man. He wouldn't be in an every down role here. I'm not saying he's coming here. I'm not even sure if the Steelers are interested in
we don't
him.
exactly.
We don't even know if the Steelers want him because they have Patrick Queen and they have a Landon and they maybe have Cole Holcomb, and then they could also draft a linebacker in the middle rounds or something. So it really does come down to how the organization views Cole Holcomb, because if they still think that he can play next year and play at a high level, he's going to be the 3rd guy.
It all just depends on how he progresses from his injury, because it was a nasty injury.
Yeah,
man.
and if they don't think he's available week 1, they have to either sign somebody for the cheap at Bobby Wagner, or you can get a rookie to kind of come in and be that 3rd down guy.
Exactly.
Or you could sign, I think what's probably more likely is they get a Kawan Alexander type signing.
You think they bring him back?
They might.
Yeah.
It's very possible. He knows the defense, all that stuff.
I like Juan Alexander.
Ryder West says sign for the future. We're trying to win Super Bowls now.
Oh, there's no time for the future, partner. It is now.
You have Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal on a vet minimum now.
Now.
Cam Hayward is probably in the last year of his career. Now. Now is the time to make these moves. If you can add a 10 times straight All-Pro to your linebacker room that already includes Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts for a $3 or $4 million contract, which is what his projection on PFF is. You do it.
You have a 36-year-old quarterback. You have a coach that has been, I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but I think he's under a little bit of pressure to win. This is a win-now team. It's a win-now squad.
And by the way, I don't want to see anybody disrespecting Ryder in the comments. He's free to his own opinion.
This is why we're a community.
Yeah, this is why,
no doubt.
This is why America is such a great country.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to sports. We don't have to agree, all right? We're all on the same team. We're
all Steelers fans.
We all want this team to be the best it can possibly be. So, Ryder, I hope you don't feel like I'm attacking you or anything like that, because that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to give you my perspective that this team clearly is looking to win now, in my opinion. And, getting Bobby Wagner doesn't prevent you from getting younger. You can still draft a linebacker for the future if you want.
Yes, indeed.
I don't like this dichotomy where it's we either get a young guy or an old guy. That's not.
What do you think about Jeremiah Trotter Jr.?
I like him. I'm at this point.
Is he day 3?
Late day 2, early day 3 for me. It's a low-value position, man. What can I say?
No doubt.
Bruin Sports says, what's our best option for receiver realistically, if you can get Tyler Boyd on a hometown discount, like $5 million a year over 2 seasons, that's the best case scenario that I can think of.
Absolutely.
Because I think Tyler Boyd would think about taking that hometown discount.
I think so too.
I think he'd think about it.
It feels like he wants to be here. It just does.
He has outright said it. He wants to play for the Steelers at some point during his career.
What?
And
no time like the present?
No time like the present to play for an offensive coordinator that is a perfect fit for his skill set. No better time to get with a quarterback in Russell Wilson who's looking to win championships now. Russell Wilson says he wants to win 2 Super Bowl titles in the next 5 years. And if this roster is as good as it is now, I mean, Russell Wilson is top 10 all-time in game-winning drives, top 10 all-time in fourth-quarter comebacks.
I think Maryland also made a good point and says we do need a center as well. Yes, we do.
We absolutely do. And, I think we can still get a center, and I think they will sign a center of some sort.
So you think they'll sign a center versus draft one?
They might do both.
And just compete?
Because here's the thing. Here's what NFL teams usually do. They'll sign somebody that they feel semi-comfortable starting in free agency if you don't have anybody at the position.
Right.
That way you don't have to feel desperate to pick a certain position group at some point in the draft. So they might get a guy like Coleman Shelton from the Rams last year. He was like right in the middle in terms of PFF grading last year. Decent player, has played in a similar system to this with lots of wide zone. They might sign him to like a smaller contract. And then if Cedric Van Pran is sitting there in the 3rd round,
take him.
That's the value pick. Take him. If Bo Limmer is sitting there in the 4th round,
in that case,
take him.
If they sign Shelton and draft Van Pran, do you think Van Pran is your week 1 starter?
I don't know.
And that's, I guess, a good problem to have.
That's all I can know. That's all I can say right now because I don't know.
We don't know how he's going to perform.
Exactly. It's going to depend on who plays better in the preseason and in camp. It'll be an open competition. I have a feeling, just like it was with Broderick last year, that Coleman is going to get the first nod.
No doubt.
But like, if Coleman starts stinking it up like Chooks did last year, like
Chucks was awful.
Eventually, it's going to be time to move on to the rookie.
Riley says Steelers should trade for Debo. Ayuk is about to get a big contract, and they don't have the money. Debo is on a big contract, though.
Yeah.
And he just changed his number, by the way, so I don't think he's going
anywhere.
anywhere.
I really think that Arthur Smith would love him some Debo Samuel. He's like top 5 run-blocking running back or wide receiver in football.
You know who would just be moist for Debo? Matt Canada. He would run jet sweeps every single play with Debo Samuel on the roster.
I just love the description there. Who would be moist for fucking Debo Samuel? Are you kidding me, man?
Oh
Tom Banks is wondering, I think we draft Brian Thomas Jr., trade up to pick 15. I don't think you have to trade up to pick 15 to take him.
He'll probably be there at 20. He's probably there.
Listen, man, when I look at my rankings personally, when it comes to the receivers this year, I've got Marvin Harrison 1, I've got Malik Neighbors 2, Rome Odunze 3, Adonai Mitchell 4, and then I've got probably Brian Thomas Jr. 5. I don't think I'm missing anybody there, am I?
Here were your targets at, like, in general.
Yeah, these are the Steelers' targets here in the 1st round. These are the guys that I think the Steelers would spend a 1st-round pick on because they've got the size, they've got the speed.
What about McMillan?
Route running, not in the 1st. He's a 2nd-round guy, and he's a little bit, he's 6'1", so it's hard to call him a smaller guy, but he's not jacked up.
The Titans are spending money like no one's business. What are we doing? They just signed Nick Folk, who, by the way, it's unbelievable Nick Folk's still in the league.
Well, he's so consistent.
Dude, he was
inside of 50 yards, Nick Folk literally never misses.
Nick Folk was the Cowboys kicker before Dan Bailey.
Exactly.
He has been in the league, it's almost 20 years.
I mean, but with these kickers, man, I mean, Adam Vinatieri was in the league for
45,
for a million years. So these guys, even when they get old, and Nick Folk has never been a power leg guy.
So for those keeping tabs at home, they spent $92 million on Calvin Ridley, $3.5 million on Mason Rudolph, $3.75 million on Nick Folk. They've spent $100 million in the last half an hour.
By the way, Ryder West says Odunze would be solid, but he's before 20. Yes, he's going to be gone.
Yes,
you're trading up inside the top 10 for Rome Odunze if you're getting him, and I don't think the Steelers are going to want to do that because if you're telling me I can keep all my picks and go with Adonai Mitchell or trade up. Oh! Steelers talk royalties in the house.
Anthony!
We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. It's Anthony Fuller, King Yinzer, with a $50 super chat.
Let's go, Anthony.
Let's go, Anthony. Good to see you, my friend. Appreciate the $50.
Let's ride.
So Tom Banks says Brian Thomas is going to be gone before pick 20. The Jags are going to try and get him.
The Jags need a receiver now, yeah.
And yeah, they do. And listen, you might be right, Brian. Tom, sorry. I've got Brian Thomas. Tom, I don't think that Brian Thomas is
worthy of trading up for?
Is worth trading up for, if that makes sense. Like if they don't take Adonai Mitchell in the Jacksonville spot.
Where is Jacksonville at? I'll look.
Check. They're before the Steelers, but they're 17th.
They're 17th.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So they're 17th. They need a receiver. So is it going to be Adonai Mitchell or is it going to be Brian Thomas Jr.? I would rather take Adonai Mitchell if I were them.
So
that means Brian Thomas Jr. would likely be there for the Steelers at 20.
From the Steelers' standpoint, there's no need to trade up because you like either of them.
Exactly. I think that the Steelers are going to like either Adonai Mitchell or Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think that any of these guys are going to feel like they have to trade up for. So I think they're going to be cool staying pat. And if none of them are available, they'll just take a corner or they'll take an offensive tackle or they'll go center.
There are plenty of holes that the Steelers can fill. At 20. Pause. Major pause. Good Lord, Coop.
Gracious. Major pause, Coop. God damn.
Gracious.
Jesus. As long as the audience is still here.
We're chilling.
We're chilling, all right? 537 people are watching. Almost 500 likes. Can we get up to 500 likes, please? Can we get up to 500 likes? How long have we been live so far?
We've been live for 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 56 seconds.
Is this the longest stream that we've done this week? Or was that?
Monday is about the same.
Monday takes the cake.
No, it was about the same as this. So it will be the longest one we do.
Anthony Fuller says, "Wow, Coop."
Yeah, that was a really bad phrasing on my part.
Control your mouth.
That's on me.
Yeah, it is on you. Steelers have a lot of holes to fill.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Okay.
Someone says, I would love T. Higgins. That's not happening, though. It is not happening, sadly. T. Higgins, a great receiver.
Yeah, if you trade for him, you got to pay him a bag. Then the Steelers just aren't going to do that.
Oh, now here's a hell of a question. This is obviously something that wouldn't happen. If Caleb Williams somehow made it to 20, would the Steelers pick him?
Why are we doing
this?
They
would. The Steelers would pick Caleb Williams if he was available at 20.
I think they would.
They absolutely would.
They would trade Russell.
They would. Kenny Pickett would be cut. They would draft Caleb Williams. Russell Wilson would be the backup this year at $1.21 million.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Like,
it's obviously not happening.
It's not going to happen.
It's a hypothetical.
Like, the reason why you go out and get a Russell Wilson is because you're not in position to take a guy like Caleb Williams. If they were, they wouldn't have signed Russell. So this hypothetical, it's interesting. They would take him at number 20, or at least I would, and I would try to trade Russ or Pickett or somebody. But goddamn, man, that would really make the Steelers Super Bowl contenders because
Tom
holy
asked
schnitzel.
About my other homie, Xavier Worthy. How would he fit in this system?
He's skinny, man.
165.
He's skinny. I unless he bulks up a lot.
He's not he's an okay run blocker. He's not a good run blocker.
Yeah, and he'd be what, like a deep threat? We already have one in George Pickens. So like, I don't like the fit personally. I love the fit with a team like Kansas City because he could be their Tyreek Hill 2.0 there.
If freaking Worthy goes to Kansas City, they may win 5 Super Bowls, man. That team. They already might.
Plus, they got Rashee Rice, who is like one of the best yak receivers in the league already. Like
he's awesome.
That'd be so tough to stop, man. So I have a feeling the league is gonna let Xavier Worthy get to 32. I have a bad feeling about this.
Worthy is. I'm obviously a Texas Longhorns fan, so I'm biased, but he's gonna make the Chiefs so freaking good.
Steelers just make a move. Steelers are signing long snapper Christian Kuntz to a 3-year deal per sources.
They already had him, right?
They already had him.
So this is a re-sign.
It's a re-sign. So Christian Kuntz is coming back.
All right.
To the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's cool.
So I don't mind Kuntz as a long snapper. I've never had any issue with him. I'm not going to pretend to be like, oh, I've watched long snapper film and like I know everything about being a long snapper, but I've never had an issue with him. So I'm fine with locking him up.
Sure. I haven't done my long snapping research here lately, but
my long snapper research.
Steelers re-sign Kuntz.
So Tom Banks says we can't forget about Calvin Austin III. We can forget about him a little bit.
No doubt.
You know, I think that he has some sort of role with this team next year as like a fourth receiver. They might even try him out at running back a little bit next year, just because he's got that open field ability. Could be a decent scat back for them if they try him out there. But his main role is going to be as the punt return man next year. And
yes.
That's what he's really, really good at. So I'm not trying to disrespect my man Calvin Austin III, but like when we drafted him and people were like, this guy's going to be the Diontae Johnson replacement, it's just not the right offense for him to replace Diontae Johnson in.
What do you want to do with this? Do we want a full cut? Do you want to do a short on it?
I'm gonna do short later. We'll pair it with another signing if something else happens. Okay. But a long snapper, get out of here, man. Like we did a full cut on a punter earlier.
Yes, we did.
We're not doing one on a long snapper.
Hey, we're big punter guys. We're special teams guys.
Cameron Johnson's not bad.
Not bad, man.
A lot better than Presley Harvin. $2 super chat here from
King
Yinzer. Anthony Fuller says Ricky Pearsall in the third. If he's there in the third and you haven't taken a receiver,
I like Ricky Pearsall, man. He has. You mentioned this earlier. He might have the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen it, just look up Ricky Pearsall highlights. It'll be the first one on the highlight reel. It's unbelievable.
One of the most insane. Florida lost that game, by the way, because Billy Napier's a fraud. However, Ricky Pearsall's a stud, man. He is.
He is, man. And he's a great run blocker. He is a dog. He is a dog. He's a great route runner, a great run blocker, route runner. He's got decent hands. I like him as like a maybe late second, early third round pick this year. Really good player, man. Somebody's going to get a steal with Ricky Pearsall. He's going to be damn good right away.
I think so, too.
I'm really excited to see him play. Doomify is wondering about Odell Beckham Jr. Somebody's saying Wagner to Washington. Is that true? I think it is.
Oh, my God, it is. All right, well, we'll see ya.
All right, well, we're getting a notification from our boss that we gotta cover Bobby Wagner to the Washington Commanders right now. So we appreciate every single one of you guys that has been here.
We love you guys.
We love you. We appreciate you.
We're sorry we have to go.
We're sorry we have to go. We wish that the signing was with the Steelers and not the Commanders, but we'll see you guys later.
Queen.
And by the way, if the Steelers make a signing of their own today, we're going to get you guys a video on the channel.
No doubt about it.
Don't worry about it. I mean, we got over 500 people here, and we're 2 hours into the show.
Shout out to the Yinzers,
Shout out to the real ones. Shout out to the real ones. So Bobby Wagner not coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Not coming to the Steelers.
Officially official. Maybe we get some word on Tyler Boyd by the end of the day. Who knows? But at the end of the day, man, this business, and this is a business, and fortunately we got to get going here. But we appreciate every single one of you guys. If there's breaking news, we will be back later today. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next